We are back for the second season of the Wigan Way, a podcast where we look at Wigan Warriors, the NRL, the Championship, and all the leagues across of England. It's brilliant to be back. Matty, how have you been?
Yeah, fantastic. Loving it. It's great to be going to the off-season as champs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Lewis, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good, mate, thank you. Yeah, I'm very good. Really excited to get this podcast started. Season 1 was brilliant. Thank you for everybody for all your positive bits of feedback and praise for the podcast. We're glad we've got a big following now. Well, a relatively big following for us, definitely bigger than we thought at the start. And we're ready to bring out some more for Season 2, bigger and better.
Definitely. That's the aim, isn't it? And we hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.
He'll put you in his trap, 'cause he's a union man. He's got it all figured out. He won't care what you think, 'cause he's a northern man. He's allowed to speak his
So, on this pre-season episode, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at all the teams in Super League. We're going to tell you where we think they finish. We're going to go through them based on the league position last year. And we're going to tell you who we think the key men are, any potential signs of trouble in our opinion, and what we think about each club. Seem fair enough, lads?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Let's get our 2 pence thrown in.
So, we're starting off with the new boys, the London Broncos. Now, before we talk about on-the-field stuff, there's obviously the potential with IMG that they may not be in Super League no matter what next year. It's a difficult situation for them, really. I don't think any team's ever been faced with it before.
I suppose, best way for them to view it really is like it's a free hit almost. Just go out, have fun, see what you can do, see if you can upset a few teams, enjoy the experience along the way.
There'll be
because you don't know what's coming next year.
Yeah, some players looking to impress and get a long-term gig in Super League. You'd think.
That's for me how they have to be. If you're one of the young lads in this squad, and we've got the squad up, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the squad now. It isn't the strongest squad in Super League. It's probably one of the weakest Super League has seen for a long time.
There's not many players there with any Super League experiences, but I suppose London, when they started recruiting, wouldn't have been expecting to be in Super League.
No, it was an unknown thing. You've got to remember Featherstone were very confident about coming up. And
if it weren't them, it was Toulouse. You know what I mean?
Looking at the squad here, I know 4 players.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely not a rugby league expert or anything, but I'd like to think I've watched rugby league for a while now. I would know the majority of players, and I know 4 on that team, so it is going to be very difficult.
Rhys Kennedy played full car last year. I liked him. Rob Butler's played for Warrington. Walker, the fullback.
I was going to say I like the fullback Alex Walker. He's lively.
I think Adebayi was a young lad at Castleford. We played him before, but really, I'm struggling to see. I think Will Lovell might have been with them last time they were in Super League, maybe.
I don't remember the name massively, but Hakeem Maludi in the centre.
Hakeem Maludi, I remember him.
He is a very talented player, and he can create tries for them.
He took O'Loughlin's eye out last time.
When he was for Toronto.
Was that Toronto? That one, yeah.
They've got a few Italians. Campagnolo is the halfback's name, I think, who's played for Italy in the World Cup. You got Dean Parata, who was the Championship Player of the Year last year, and then number 12, Ethan Natoli, who was a plumber in Sydney when he got signed for London. So that would be a good story, especially if he does really well this year.
That's what a success story that could be.
What success for London this year? Because do you see him getting 5 wins? 27 league games. Do you see him getting 5 wins?
Well, that would be more than Wakefield got last year.
I think that'd be a massive success. If they could get 5 wins, I can't see it happening. I think they might be scraping around 2 or 3. I think it'll be a long season for all the players. But for me, success will be 5 wins. Maybe an upset against one of the top teams.
I think you probably judge success on how the younger lads progress from having a year in Super League. So I'm thinking of more like the Leland lads who were the young players. Yeah. Bierneck, who's been at Hull before. they've got a young squad here, and if they can play all right and go toe to toe with some teams and maybe sneak a couple of wins, or even a few close losses, then they'll be better off for that when they go back if they go back into Championship. They'll be a better team for it.
See, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a lot of Super League clubs send some players down on loan to London.
Just boost this squad a bit, boost the numbers.
To boost the squad, but especially if you've got players that aren't getting game time. I know a lot of clubs have dual reg and whatever, but this would be a good chance to get maybe, if I talk about Wigan, maybe a Sam Esse, a game in Super League, a Harvey Makin. I know they're doing dual reg and the loan setups that we've already got, but this is a prime opportunity, especially if they pick up a few injuries, London.
Well, they will. That's only natural. You are going to get a few injuries, and it just seems to me like the squad's just a little bit unusually weighted. They've got 5 centres there and only 3 frontline props and 4 half-backs. It's not built like any of the other squads we've got in Super League this year.
Yeah, it's a good point, though.
It just seems like...
Do you think this is a squad of who's been available?
Maybe. And maybe some of these lads are going to fill in up front, but you can't have people filling in prop, can you? It's not a position where you can just throw a few big lads in.
Not consistently.
So it'll be interesting to see how they go about it. Maybe the recruit's not even done. They've left that number 2 shirt free. So, there could still be recruitment if somebody's available.
I'd like them to bring in a couple of signings. I think it would really help.
Season-long loan, you could look in the season-long loan market.
But who would want to go there now? That's the big question. You have to be someone who's adamant about trying to get a first-team spot at another club.
But you go for game time. That's all you're going for.
A young squad, exciting young squad, quite a lot of Southern players.
Yeah.
Good young coach, Mike Eccles. So I think there's definitely a project there, and you could buy into that.
I think everyone in Super League's rooting for him. I don't think we want that. I think we're seeing the kind of uphill mountain they've got to climb, but I think the majority of Super League fans are wishing him the best, because I think a thriving team down the south of the country is only good for the greater game.
I think that's the thing. They'll be everyone's second team this year.
Yeah. When they come up, we said about how many. They had no players from the north of England, did they?
Not at one point, no.
They'll have signed a few now in this squad, presumably, but they had no players from the north of England. They were all from abroad or from the south of England. So there's lots of good young Southern English talent in this team.
Now, before we move on to the next side, where do you see London finishing?
Unfortunately, I can't see them getting 10 points, so they'll have to finish bottom for me.
Yeah, nowhere but bottom for me.
I can't see them. If they finished 11th, I think that'd be one of the greatest achievements.
Oh, I agree. And don't forget, London have gone down before with 20 points.
Yeah.
This
London side isn't as strong as that.
No chance. And I think there are stronger teams. Super League as a competition have got more stronger teams than it did then. But it is worth remembering that London side that got relegated with 20 points. It almost was.
And beat Wigan and Saints. It was almost back to
bit of a travesty, that, because if you'd have kept them up and had no relegation that year, they could have really built on something there, because they were a good squad. But maybe they'll do the same. They might surprise us.
Right. So we're going to move on from London. We're going to go to the team that finished 11th in Super League last year, Castleford.
Yeah.
Let's see, where do you have them, Matty, finishing this year?
It's 10th or 11th for me. It's touch and go, but I'll probably just pencil them in the traditional 11th spot.
Lewis?
I agree with Matty. I've gone 11 as well for Cass.
I've gone 10. I have them not finishing bottom this year.
This is a miles better squad than
That's
the
my
one we
opinion.
just saw for London.
I'm just looking, and it seems like a squad that started to have a little bit of direction, in my opinion. You look at that squad, Luke Hurley, the full-back, Josh Sims in his senior, 2 centres, Jack Broadbent's the player that I really, really like, Sam Wood, wasn't he at Hull KR?
Yeah.
Half-back pairing of Richardson and Miller, 2 very experienced Super League half-backs.
Yeah, I think I'd be putting Mills in there, to be honest with you. I liked Mills when I saw him last year. I think he's better than both of them two, perhaps.
Perhaps, yeah, but I'm just going off the squad numbers there. You look at the forwards, Liam Watts, George Lawler, George Griffin. Then you go into Muzzy Mustafa, Sami Kabula has got a game, and Albert Vete.
Yeah, there's some big
some
squad
big bodies there.
Kabula and Vete.
And you look at the rest of the side.
If they roll them two all off the bench, good luck trying to stop them.
Yeah.
Am I remembering this right? When Castleford first signed Sammy Cavula, was their marketing technique to play the clip from Benidorm?
Yes, it was.
Of
Yeah.
Donald
yeah.
Stewart from the sitcom Benidorm saying,
Oh, yeah.
he's a big boy.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
he's a big boy.
He's a big boy.
Sammy Cavula.
I'd forgotten about that.
It's a great marketing technique.
That was worth remembering. That
It was. I don't know why. It just popped into my head then when you said his name.
I'd fully forgot that.
Lewis Johnson. I've liked Lewis Johnson for a while.
Yeah.
Lad from Warrington. He played at Hull KR
Has
last
he gone
year.
on loan?
No, he's
Fully moved?
yeah. I like him as a good. I think he's a good second row. He'd been unlucky with injuries and being stuck behind some quality players, but maybe this is the team where he can figure it out.
They seem recruited quite a couple. Luke Hooley was full back at Leeds, wasn't he, towards the end of last season?
Senior's new. They swapped him for Elliot
That's
Wallace.
Yeah.
That winger
They did,
Wallace.
Vete was at Hull KR, wasn't he, if I remember right?
I think they had Vete last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, him last year, but yeah, he was at Hull KR.
They've
before
got a couple of new second rows in. There's El Zekum, I think you say his name, and then Putt. He's from Papua New Guinea, played in the World Cup.
What I'll say about these is my opinion. It's Paul McShane is key, and he is a Man of Steel winner. But you look, it seems to me like a young side, but with lots of experience through it. Liam Watts,
Yeah.
Joe Westman,
Miller's
Paul
very
McShane,
experienced.
Jacob Miller, Danny Richardson,
George Griffin.
George Griffin. They're players that have been in and around Super League for a long time, and they know how to win games. And I think it just seems more balanced to me this year.
No, I think this is a better squad than they had last year. I think a much better squad. It's a bit more diverse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's more
I
ways
do
to
think
win.
it'll take 2-3 years.
Don't forget, the squad last year was set up by Lee Radford.
Yes.
He only went after 4 games. So this is a squad now with Craig Lingard's fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
Whereas last year it had Radford, and it's a completely different style of play. Whereas this squad looks a bit more diverse, looks like it could play a few different ways. Whereas Radford's always looked like it was going to run the ball down your throat, whatever position you were playing.
I think you can see that with the size of the wingers that they've gone for Sims Senior and Jason Gary. Who was it that started on the wings from last year? Mahe Fanua.
Yeah.
Who was the other winger?
Can't remember.
Gone completely blank from me. The other winger that was at Hull FC.
They're just brand new. Oh,
Very
Ferreira.
that was it.
They were very big.
Yeah,
They were a typical Lee Radford side.
Yeah.
Big and strong.
2 new wingers.
I think this year,
2 new wingers.
like we said, the balance is right. They're starting to get the squad balanced for a season. They might be a touch light, maybe.
We're still back to 11, but here's the thing. No, there's a bit more security now. I think we're not expecting London to run them close, and also there isn't that threat of relegation for finishing bottom. So perhaps for the first time ever, Castleford can build
For the 2025
for
season.
2025, 2026 beyond, because it's only 5 years ago, 6 years since they've been in grand final.
2017 wasn't
They've
it?
got to think
3
long
years
term,
since they
haven't
went
they
to the
now?
Challenge Cup. They've got to keep this young squad together, build around people like Hooley and Broadbent and probably Richardson, and then try and have a go in a few years.
Richardson's a strange one for me. I think he'd be a good one with Widdop going. It seemed like Widdop and Miller was the kind of combination they were going with last year. It seems like he kind of burst on the scene at St Helens, didn't he, when he first come on, and people were tipping him for an England jersey in his first season. He was like performing really well, and people were saying I know people had different opinions on that, but
Kicking goals from everywhere.
well, he was, yeah, and
Well, he definitely the goal kicker, wasn't he?
it seems. I don't
Yeah,
know, a bit
Milnes is a good
strange
kicker,
kind
though.
of for someone to burst on the scene like that and suddenly just kind of like disappear. And it's like when you think back to that first season he did kind of take the stage by storm, really, didn't he?
Hooley can kick goals.
Yeah, how about that?
Hooley and Milnes both kick goals, and Richardson, so that'd be interesting to see who gets the tee for them.
Yeah, it would be interesting. The only thing I worry about with this side is Miller and Richardson at halves. We talked about the strengths and the Super League experience
Defending.
I don't think they're great one-on-one tacklers. And you look at Harry Smith, Bevan French, Johnny Lomax, Lewis Dodd, when they're in the line,
George Williams.
they might not dominate every single tackle they're in. But you're not worried about someone running at them, and they get stuck in.
I don't know. I think that forward pack could run over a few teams, especially on that short pitch. But then you're also open to the reverse happening.
The reverse happening. To be fair, that's the pros and cons of having that short pitch. That if you're on the front foot, it's very easy to get down the other end and ask questions.
In one of the pre-season games, Luke Cooley did a dropout and it went dead. That's how short the pitch is.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Goal line dropout that went dead. I think Richards might have done that once.
Right, so let's move on. We're going to look at the team that finished 10th in Super League last year. It's Hull FC.
Hull FC, right, okay.
So, Hull FC, a lot of changes in the squad this year under Tony Smith.
Enormous squad.
I was going to say that might be the biggest squad ever
40
released.
40 they've gone up to.
I know we were releasing a player a day for January, but
Yeah.
we'd have been alright. We'd have been halfway through Feb. What do we make of this squad now? Obviously, the big loss is Jake Clifford.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see this side with Jake Clifford in it.
That's a good point, yeah.
Before I forget, where do we have them finishing this season, guys? Matty, where do you have them?
Let me count upwards. I think 8th.
Hey,
8th.
Lewis?
I've gone a bit lower. I've gone 10th. So I've gone London, Cass and Hull FC for me, bottom 3.
I've got them in at 9th.
Okay, so we've got a bit of a spread.
8th, 9th, 10th. So we don't think they're going to be contending for the playoffs.
No, they might be looking in. They'll not be looking over the shoulders, I don't think.
No, I don't think they'll be looking at
over the
the
shoulders.
bottom of the table. I just think they're going to be a little bit adrift.
Now, I did tweet this squad out and say, why have they got 6 half-backs? And somebody replied to me, I don't know what team he supported, saying, never mind 6 half-backs, they'll not win 6 games.
I think that's a little bit unfair.
I think it's harsh. I do think they'll win.
But just look at some of the big names. The 2 full-back options of Tex Hoy and Jack Walker. Wings, Liam Tyndall, Darnell McIntosh. Tumavare, Liam Sutcliffe in the centre positions.
They might be drawing us in here with just weight of numbers. Can you really confidently say that their numbers, let's say 21 to 40, are quality Super League players?
No, and I think that's where you've got to look at it, because a couple of years ago they did a similar thing where they named a really big squad, but named like Scott Taylor at 28,
Jamie Shaw.
Jamie Shaw, Brad Dwyer was 32 or something like that.
Yeah.
And everyone got to look at the depth. They've got Jamie Shaw at 29, and in reality, the 20 to 28 wasn't as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've not done that this year to the same extent.
No.
But you look at squad number 20, 21, Will Gardner, 22. I'm still going to tell him. Matele. Is he the winger?
The winger from Fiji, yeah.
From Fiji.
Willie Japani, I think you're saying.
But then 23, Davy Litton. 24, Nick Stavley. We're going into names that...
He's a big lad, that Will's Nick Stavley.
Yeah. But they're not established.
They have got some big lad. No, I know what you mean. You compare that to Tieki Chan. Wings number 24.
But you look again, Conrad Hurrell is Saints is 23.
Yeah, we've got
Ryan Hampshire.
Yeah.
There just seems to be a little bit more strength in that depth rather than just depth, in my opinion.
I do think they've got some good players though. I think the forwards, if they can get on top of you, SASA, Pele, So, big lads, if they can get on top of you, then you're in for a long night really. But and then the second rows are big lads as well.
Yeah, Ockenbaugh, Jordan Lane, some big lads out there. Still very similar, like we said, Lee Radford. Lee Radford's side, very strong, very big.
Takes time though as well, doesn't it? It's okay having like a big squad, but then now Tony Smith has got to find what his best 1 to 13 or 1 to 17 is, with the bench included. He's got a lot of people to choose from. They've got to gel, and that's going to take time with a lot of players there. So I suppose it's all if buts and maybes, isn't it? If they can gel and get into a role and a rhythm.
I think I've got to agree with you there, Lewis. There's still too many questions. There's still too many. Well, if he fits in, and Jake Truman.
Do you think
Jake Truman's come off 2 ACL injuries?
Do you think though that what they've done is just give a squad number to all the reserves?
Possibly, yeah.
And they're like, we could have done that.
Yeah, and anyone could have.
Anyone could do that.
I
don't think somebody like who's number 40, Jack Charles, 6th choice halfback. I don't think he's going to get any minutes, is it?
No, he might get a couple.
But he'll play in reserves.
He'll play reserves, yeah.
They've got 3 young halfbacks there. Morgan Smith, who was the young lad at Wakefield last year, who, we thought he was all right, started the season. And then they've got Truman and Brown, who are going to be the starting halves, you'd imagine.
The big play for me is Tex Hoy. 17 games last year. 2 tries. he has to stay fit for the full season.
Yeah.
You look at what Field did after his injury at Wigan. He had an injury-ridden first season, probably to a worse extent than.
Oh yeah,
Tex.
he played 4 games.
4 games. He's the star man in my opinion. He's the guy that can bring you points.
Yeah.
And if he can play 4 or 5 games and then misses 3 and then he's back in for 4, and you're constantly swapping between him and Jack Walker.
Yeah.
Jack Walker is an accomplished full-back. There might be a case that Hoy potentially doesn't play for Jack Walker.
I can see a world where Jack Walker takes over as the first choice.
Yeah.
And then it's what do you do with Hoy, because he's probably on decent money. He's a quarter spot. Do you stick him on the bench and bring him on? And
He'd have plays that 14.
what do you do? I'm interested to see how some of their new recruits go. Ockenbo, SASA, Pele, and New Brown, the halfback. I'm interested to see how they go. I know the 2 props are really, really big lads. The second row is really tall as well, but the 2 props are really big lads.
I just wonder, and we've talked about this before, the Lee Radford style of rugby, obviously he was there for a long time. How long was he in charge there?
Oh.
Must have been six years.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Big bodies, big middles.
I won 2 Challenge Cups.
Two
They
Challenge
won
Cups.
2 Challenge Cups, yeah.
And they had the likes of Danny Houghton, who would pick up the work. Brad Fash does the same thing now. But then forwards fatigue. And
Yeah.
Can they play that way for an entire season?
There's a part of me, with Hull FC, I always think the team that could have been for Hull FC, quite a big club, big following, won a couple of Challenge Cups, but have never really been able to push on and
I know what you mean, yeah.
go to grand finals and contend for them and stuff. You think actually they could have.
You
There's
always think,
definitely a potential. There,
when
wasn't
we
there,
were
over the
kids,
years, I
they
think.
were a good side,
Yeah.
but they were a bit like the measuring stick side, weren't they? If you beat them, you were a good side, but they never really made it to the top.
Yeah.
There was there were potential.
They were tough
there
to beat.
build. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, I followed up with that, and then they went on that spell where they won. Did they get to a Challenge Cup and then win it, and then win 2 years later?
Yeah,
Over 5 years, I think they got to 3 Challenge Cups and won 2.
Yeah.
They could have gone on.
They could have kicked on from that. But do you think Radford was the man for that? Maybe if they had Tony Smith then.
Maybe they
Yeah,
had Tony
maybe.
Smith then. I just don't know the way that they build the squad is the way you build it to win a Super League. With them big guys and trying to dominate games. I think they're very good at winning you one-off games.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
They're a really interesting team. We'll have to wait and see what they can do.
Danny Houghton, though, going again,
Yeah.
he could be key for them.
Got the name of his backup, how ridiculous. Number 28, Denive Balmforth. That is the most unusual name on that list.
Yeah.
Denive Balmforth.
So we've all said...
And that's Stinky Hodgson's relative. Is his nephew? Or his cousin or somebody? It's Josh Hodgson's
is it?
relative, I think. Yeah, Jalen.
Ah.
Well, I was just looking to. Sorry, this shows you how it's been so long for rugby league. I've lost where all the players have gone. Lovadua isn't on. He used to be switch 9, didn't he? With Houghton,
Yeah.
so it'd be interesting to see if that Bournemouth does.
He's in the championship.
Yeah.
Lovadua, which
Right,
is unusual.
okay.
I thought he was. We spoke at the end of last year, didn't we? Saying we think he might get picked up because
Yeah, it picked up as a utility player, but
I think he
obviously
just
he takes up a quarter spot.
Yeah.
I've just been interested to see, obviously, Houghton's getting on a bit now. No
Yeah.
offence to him, but obviously, I think that
And
sub
they've
9 for
let-
Houghton
they've
would
let
probably
Brad-
work.
They've let Brad Dwyer go.
Dwyer's gone.
I don't
Would that
know.
Bamford be getting
Yeah,
a, you know,
I
a
don't know
bit of a bench spot to
What they're going to
interchange
do
with
with
Houghton?
that? Because he did a bit of 13 and a bit of 9, and he could play in the halves as well. Lovadua, so I don't know.
Bit of a utility player.
Maybe Morgan Smith can do that job
I
actually.
was going to say,
Maybe.
who filled in at 9 a couple of times last year? David Litton didn't play at 9.
No, David Litton would play at full
No.
back when Hoy was
I'm
injured.
just trying to think.
Who filled in at 9?
Who filled in anywhere?
Well, I don't know. They weren't the most interesting team last year, were they?
No.
Obviously.
Right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll come back and we'll go through 6 to 9.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. So, we're back after that quick break. We're now going to look at the teams that finished 9th to 6th last season, starting off with 9 to 7, sorry, as I've been corrected, Lewis. That's the first time you got it right, because you backed Huddersfield all year. It didn't go well for you. Where'd you see Huddersfield finishing this year, mate?
I'm just going to take a second to appreciate that smooth segue. But I've got him down in 7th.
Matty?
I've got 9th, although I do think that they and Hull FC will be very close. Want to guess? Oh no, you already said 8th. You got 8th?
Yeah, I've got them 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be my teams too.
Looking at the squad, the first thing that comes to mind for me is I think it's a little bit more set out as who's going to play where. It's going to look like Connor at full-back, Swift and Bibby on the wings, Masters and Nguama. Tuilula here was undroppable last year, so he's probably going to be in the halves. Adam Clune, the new signing, is going to be in there.
Where have they got him from, Clune?
From Newcastle, isn't it?
Yeah,
Newcastle.
Nucastle.
Ollie Russell will
And
be...
Deakin they've got from Roosters.
Yes.
He's a hooker.
But there seems to be just... Immediately you're looking at that squad going, it's a bit more obvious who's going to play where. And you've got a little bit of depth in Leroy Cudjoe, Elliot Wallace, especially in the backs, Ash Goulding, Sam Halsall.
Sam Halsall's the cover in the backs,
the
isn't
utility.
Looks a lot more, yeah, like you say, a bit more. Where they did last season, everyone kept saying they had a big kind of intake of players, didn't they? When Watson first got the job signed, everyone kept on asking the same questions. Are we going to get all these on the pitch in positions?
Well, you've got to remember that. They had a big influx when he first came. They got to the Challenge Cup final, and then he went in and brought in the likes of
Harry
Masters,
Masters,
Nguama, Jake Connor. On
Yeah.
top of that,
Now he's brought in Adam Swift,
I think Adam Swift's a very, very good signing.
Clune, Murchie.
It just looks good, doesn't it? Like you can almost see what the 1 to 13 is going to be.
Yeah, and I do
Probably
think
Connor full back, Swift, Baby, Masters and Nguema in centres, all here including at half backs. You're not seeing how does Connor fit in and how does Price fit in.
It's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? There's
You're
a
not-
lot of
you're not sat-
questions. How do
you're
you get
not-
all those half backs on the field?
You're not sat wondering, are they going to put Lola here at full back and Connor play centre?
Well, they kept switching, which
Yeah.
we said all last season, and I know I made the point. I stick by it. Your spine, your 1, 6, 7, 9. You've the 13 in there as well, but they're very, very important, and you need consistency.
Well, 13 will be settled with Luke Yates. It always is. And
It was.
I think you should have your 6 and 7 settled with those two, Lollahere and Clune, and then Connor maybe at the back.
That's
But
fine.
I do
That's fine,
think
should be settled.
think Deakin will play the majority at 9, although I think they'll both play, Deakin and Milner.
Did Milner play a bit of prop when he was at...
It's a bit of loose forward.
bit of
I
loose
think
forward,
it'll
sorry.
loosen now. It's a cast one, is it? 9.
So he could be filled in there with Luke Yates doing a bit in the props, because I look at that squad and I just think they're a little bit light in the forwards. Chris Hill, Joe Greenwood, Oliver Wilson getting the number 17. Imagine your third prop getting the number 17.
What do you mean?
They've only named 3 props in the 1 to 17. I look
Yeah,
at that.
I don't think you're making too much of that.
Ike and then you're going into Fenton Rogers, Hugo Solibio. Is he the guy that was up?
Yeah, he's the one. He's the French lad. He played at Catalan and then he went to Wakey and did that horrible tackle. Yeah,
And
where,
Jack Bibby.
where he had the ball
Yeah,
and he dumped that fella on his head and he had the ball.
yeah,
Remember
it
that?
was a bit weird that.
He
But
got a long ban.
I don't think them props are the strongest, and I'm not looking at the second rowers thinking there's many that can fill in there. I don't look at Jack Murky, he's a second rower.
Yeah.
Sam Hewitt, Harry Rushton,
Well, Harvey Levette's definitely a second row. He's not going to play. prop,
Andre
is he?
Savelio is a second rower.
You could maybe get Luke Yates a prop, but
Yeah.
then you're messing with your spine, like we said
Yeah.
before. You don't want to do that.
I'm not looking going, there's loads of strength there.
They need Hill and particularly Greenwood, who has had trouble staying on the pitch recently. Well, for
In
quite a
his
long
time at
time.
Wigan especially.
Greenwood's got to stay on the pitch. Chris Hill's got to do lots of minutes this year.
Question for you both away from the players. I think he is. Is Watson under pressure straight from the start of this season?
Yeah,
Massively.
yeah, huge. He's
Oh,
got to
so
get.
so.
He's got to get it right. He has got to get it right before mid-season. Otherwise, he'll be gone.
Well, I asked you this for London. We didn't ask it for the other two. What's success for Huddersfield? 'Cause I don't think it's fair to judge the coach, and we're not judging what we think success is. They got to a Challenge Cup final and took a massive step back last year.
Huddersfield, with the money they've spent and the
They
length
have
of
to get
time,
top 6 for
the length, yeah,
Watson to
the
stay.
length of time that Watson's been in the job, and the money they've spent, I think you've got to be in the playoffs.
Interesting, we've not put him in the top 6.
No,
I've gone
no.
highest with 7.
If they don't make the top 6, does he get sacked?
Well, you've got to be battering on the door of the top 6.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you've not made the top 6, you've got to be battering on.
Maybe
the
a
door.
Challenge Cup run
Yeah.
will save him. If he gets 7th, 8th and gets a good Challenge Cup run, maybe gets to the final or wins it.
If he's close to being in the playoffs, but
Yeah.
I don't think he will be. I don't think they'll be close to the playoffs.
That squad looks weaker than last year.
It might be, but they spent a lot of money on it. I'll tell you that.
And it looks definitely weaker than the side that got to the Challenge Cup final, in my opinion. So,
I don't know. I think a lot will depend on how Adam Clune plays. He could be like Clifford last year, where he comes, or Hastings when he first came, where he comes and he transforms a team from lower mid-table to upper mid-table.
But
Obviously Clifford didn't do that, but then...
But we're also talking about they need to get top 6. We're not talking about transforming to get maybe sneak in the playoffs. We're talking this side should be.
No, this side
Should be strong in the top 6.
I don't know about that. I think there's lots of strong teams. I think this is probably a team that's on the border on paper. I know it's not played on paper, but is probably on the border of.
What I mean by that is, I don't think they're a top 6 team. But when they talk about, Watson keeps saying that you've got to trust the process. They've been building for this. They've been building to get to this position probably in the 3-4 years that Watson's been there. And if they don't get there, they've gone backwards. Because in his first, I think it was his first full season, he got the Challenge Cup final. That was a big step forward. If they don't do something, they're in trouble.
He said when he took that job from Salford, I remember watching, they had him on Sky, and they said, and Brad Guy said, how do I address you? And he said, I'm the very proud ex-Salford coach, and I'd like to say I'm the new Huddersfield coach. And they said, why did you take that job? And he said, everything about Huddersfield screams top 4.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Was his words. He said, everything about it, he said, it's in a good location. He said, academy set up, the good squad, good chairman. Everything about it is screaming potential for a top 4 club.
I agree.
It's not happened.
But no, I don't. Well, I don't think it's going to happen this season, to be honest with you.
I really don't. I've just checked the year that they got
Didn't he get
to the Challenge Cup
fourth?
final. They finished third.
Oh, third.
Third, 3 points clear of Catalans in fourth.
I knew they hosted a game.
Yeah, so
They hosted Salford, didn't they?
so you're looking and going,
Belting game, that Channel 4.
they've gone from third in a Challenge Cup final to 8th.
No.
To 9th, sorry.
Ninth, yeah, ninth.
To 9th. That had to be a blip for Ian Watson. They have to do much better this year, and I don't think they can. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the one
Well,
or two...
I can't see them getting third in a Challenge Cup final again.
No, I can't, but they need something. I look and you're going...
He needs an improvement. He needs a big improvement.
The
He needs consistency first and foremost at the start of the season. Even if it's not with performances. Like, I think that was the thing last year. They seemed to have like a couple... I know I was laughing jokes. I kept on backing them and they kept on letting me down. But then they'd win again. I'd be like, well, they can turn it around here. They'll go back to that. This could be the start of it. And they never just seemed to kick on. It was like they would win a couple, but then they'd lose and have a really bad performance. And they could never just get on an upward trajectory and keep climbing. It was always staggering and inconsistent.
They've got to make themselves harder to beat. They've got to play better at home. Then they've got to... Well, I suppose they've got to turn those narrow defeats into wins because they had lost a lot.
Lost a lot close.
Like you're saying, then that's what a good halfback can do. Those
Yeah, I
close
suppose,
games,
yeah.
Can they come and make those losses wins?
Maybe they go as Adam Clune does then.
Do you think this is a slightly ageing squad when you look at the key men?
Well, Chris Hill's
Connor's
getting on
been
a
around
bit.
a long time. Adam Swift's been around a long
Nick
time.
Harris.
They signed Adam Swift,
Maguire's
he's getting
been
on a
around
bit.
Cudjoe
on a bit.
Chris Hill, Joe Greenwood's been around a long time. Ike Heathor's been quite a while. Tuilula here,
Yeah, you've got a point there, Jukesy, really.
Savelio, Luke Yates, Adam Milner, Ash Goulding.
Well, he just came onto scene so young that he feels older than he is, but I don't think he's very old, Ash Goulding. I think he's just been around a long time.
Might be in Watson's mind because some of his signings have been obviously Harry Rushton, Sam Halsall. He has been in the market for younger players, hasn't he? Some of them.
It just
We signed Salabio this year.
It was just as I
He's
read
a
it,
young
I just
player.
thought it looked a little bit old in my head. I might be wrong.
No,
Yes,
I think you're
well,
right. I think you're right.
Yeah, maybe.
Right, shall we move on
Yeah.
to the team who finished 8th? I'll get it right this time. I got it wrong the last couple. It's Leeds.
Yeah.
Is Rowan Smith in trouble?
Oh, he's under more pressure than Watson.
Yeah, I think him and Watson are in a similar boat. If they don't start well, it could go sour very, very quickly because the fans won't have forgot about last season.
I don't, and he spent a lot of money.
Spent big money.
So I'm going to say this actually: Leeds, Huddersfield, Hull FC. We didn't really mention it with Tony Smith. Do you think them 3 coaches are in trouble? Because I can't see all 3 of them doing well at the same time. So one of them.
Well, they're
is
in
gonna
direct
have
competition,
That's
so
what I mean.
they can't all be.
Doing well.
Yeah, they can't all finish 6th.
Do you think we see an early sacking from one of these? Because one of them is going to be the weaker of the 3.
There wasn't a lot of sackings last year. 3 sackings all last year, and 2 of them were Cass. I
I
don't
think Bisaki, especially the problem Leeds have got, and this wasn't really a sacking really, was it? Because Ron Smith come in when Richard Ager voluntarily stepped down, didn't he? But essentially that seemed a bit of a very strange one in which Richard Ager voluntarily stood down. Jamie Jones-Buchanan went in for a little while just to do what he could, whilst Gary Hetherington, isn't it?
He went to Australia.
He went to Australia to look
That's a
about the
holiday.
market and went and essentially got someone from what is the version of the Queensland Cup? Was it?
Yeah,
the version of the
Queensland
Championship. he was in,
North's,
essentially.
North's Devils was his team.
And I don't know if Leeds, if they sack Rowan Smith, if there is no one on the. Who do you go? Is that I know you always say, who do you go and get?
I don't know who's
And I
available.
don't know going for another holiday back to Australia just for try and pick up someone in the Queensland Cup or whatever. I don't know if that's the right thing for a club like
But
Leeds.
the only reason I say that is because if one of them 3 teams sacks someone, this is my opinion, you don't want to be the second team to sack someone. Because you missed the first crop of managers.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's somebody on the market. That's what Lewis is saying. With football, people get hired and fired all the time,
Yeah.
and every time there's a sacking, the same 5 names come into it. With rugby, I just don't think that's there.
Leeds won't be able to sack Rowan Smith and bring in someone with a proven track record of success. I think if they're going to sack Rowan Smith, they would go to someone like a Paul Rowley and give him a chance at a bigger club.
Yeah, that would have to be it.
They go to someone like him and say, right, you know, there was talk about him having the wire job before Burgess, wasn't that? And I think that's what they might end up doing.
But right, let's have a look through that squad, and I just want to point out the new signings. Fullback Lockie Miller,
Yeah.
come from Newcastle. Obviously, no one was expecting him.
A lot of Super League teams been dabbling at Newcastle, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they've had a bit of a squad change and a refresh.
Yeah.
But wingers, Foster Tua and Ash Hanley, Darryl Orford's the second, the backup winger, should we say?
Yeah, this is what I want to talk about is depth. I quite like the
The one to the
I like the 1 to 13 a lot. I really like the 1 to 13.
Yeah.
Maybe even 17. I think you can probably count 17 in there.
I think you can include 17.
I'm not the biggest fan of Lissoni or Sangare, but I like McDonnell, I like Jared O'Connor. But once you get past that, Goodemont, 18th man, then you think 19, backup winger, Daryl Alfords, nobody else. Backup centres, Roberts and Simpson. Do we know much about them?
Well, let's just finish the 17.
Backup half, Simfield. It just seems like the backups, as soon as you go past like 18 or 19, it just feels like players who've not really played in the division before.
So let's just finish flying through them. Harry Newman, Paul Mavarowski at the
Yeah.
centres, half-backs of Brodie Croft, Matt Frawley. Aletsky, Andy Ackers, Tom Holroyd. Bentley and Martin make up the second row, with Cameron Smith at 13.
It's a strong 13.
That's a strong 13.
It's a very strong 13.
Yeah, it is.
The bench off that being Jared O'Connor,
Lissoni,
Lissoni,
McDonald.
James McDonnell and Justin Sangare.
But I mean, now you count
And Mikael Goodman.
you count 18 now,
the
don't you?
18, yeah.
So that's a strong 18, I think.
I agree.
But beyond that, I just don't see it.
Well, we'll name the players. We might as well do it while we're talking about it. We mentioned the 18th, 19th, Darryl Alfords, Gannon. Then we go to 21, who I'm struggling to find.
Young Jackson Field.
Jackson Field as your backup half.
Kieran Hudson, 22.
Leon
Leon.
Ruan, 23.
Ruan,
couple
23.
of
Louis
props.
Roberts,
I
James
think-
Donaldson.
Yeah, Donaldson's played a lot in the division, but he always has number 25. I think Corey Johnson played a bit last year. It just seems like it just seems like there's not a lot of depth.
Couple of injuries and they're struggling. haven't they?
Yeah.
They have a
And-
season like we had last season with how many
Yeah.
injuries we had.
Yeah, yeah.
Leeds have that, they're not going to be able to call that with it.
And
No,
I heard Reece Martin is he's been
being eyed up by the Dolphins. isn't
eyed
he?
up by the Dolphins. Yeah, that wouldn't be for this year. But if you look at that spine, there, if you don't count 13, Miller, Croft, Frawley, and Ackers. I know Croft and Ackers have played together before, but that's it. It's 4 brand new players. So how long do you give a new spine like that?
Well, it is going to take time for him to gel. Obviously, there's a couple of new people as the centre. Paul Moravsky's a new one coming in there as well. So it is going to take time. But the thing is, what I think Rowan Smith's struggling with, I know it's a fresh season, but is he going to
There's
have
a
that much
hangover.
time? Or are the fans, like I said, I think Headingley could turn sour very quickly. They lose the first couple of games, they start thinking about how the last season finished,
Yeah.
how this season started, and I think it could get very sour
It could
very,
get
very
very
quick
sour.
at Headingley.
The thing for me is I look at that, and if that spine doesn't doesn't have anything to change it to.
No, that's true.
What change are they going to make?
Put-
The
put
player that
O'Connor
was... Faraka's...
Jack Sinfield.
Are you going to throw Jack Sinfield in to fix the spine that's not worked of Miller, Croft, Frawley, Ackers, Cam Smith, who are all internationals or Man of Steel winners or NRL players?
Do you reckon
And
Richie
throwing-
Myler leaving was a big shock to them?
That I'm really surprised they've allowed that to happen.
Where's Myler gone to?
It's not to York.
York.
Yeah.
But he could fill in at full back. He could fill in the halves. He gives you options. And
Experienced
Some
player, been
experience,
around the
sometimes-
block, hasn't he?
And you know how the club works. You just need that sometimes. Just like right, he could play a similar role to what Ryan Hampshire is doing at Wigan.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
that giving you some depth, giving you some options to make a little change if you need to.
Yeah.
They're in trouble if they pick up an injury.
Yeah, a couple of injuries and they're going to really
The
struggle.
only place they don't look massively weak is in second row. And you wouldn't be surprised if Reece Martin did a job at centre if someone picked up an injury. Anyway, Bentley's...
Yeah, but if you think about those second rowers, McDonnell can play loose. Gannon, we've seen him play in the halves before. Donaldson's played loose before, but none of them have ever played prop,
Yeah,
as far as I know.
not that I'm aware of. Maybe in the odd occasion with an injury, but Cam Smith might have to do a job in there. Right, should we move on to the team who finished 7th?
Yes.
Salford. So, let's see where we've got them all finishing.
Well,
Let's-
this is... Oh, sorry, go on. Before I talk about the squad.
Yeah. I've got Salford finishing 11th, and it's because of the squad that we're going to talk about.
I have him 10th.
Right, so you've gone London bottom, then Salford
Yeah.
11th. Right, okay. So I've gone to kind of London bottom, then Cast, then Hull FC, and then Salford in at 9.
Salford in at 9.
So we've got 9, 10, 11.
9,
We've got the same 9, 10, 11, just not the same order. The reason I put them at 11...
Well,
It's
this
this squad.
squad, by the way, this is not how they're lined up because they still haven't done their squad numbers yet. So, number one, they're going to add some young players to this.
Yeah.
Like every team we've seen so far, they're going to add some young players to this. But also, I've no guarantee. I've guessed these numbers, so I've no guarantee that, for example, Joe Mellor's not actually going to get the number 6 shirt, or he's not going to start. I don't know. I'm guessing Denny McDonald's on the wing because I can only see one proper winger in the whole squad.
Yeah.
So let's go through it. This is so it's our predicted squad.
It's just a really small squad because I don't know what young players they're going to fill it out with, whether or not they can go and make any signings. I don't even know if they would do that.
So let's
It
have a
just
look.
it just looks like a really small squad.
There's some certainties in there. Really a bit of fullback.
Yeah.
Ethan Ryan looks like the standout winger.
He's the only winger.
He's the only winger. Callum Watkins, Tim Laffey, Nene McDonald may play centre, but McDonald might be used on the wing. I could also see Dion Cross.
He
And
played
and
on the
Hankinson.
wing, I think, for PNG. That's why I've put him there.
Yeah. In the halves, they seem to got a few options here in the halves.
Yeah.
Cade Custom, Mark Sneed, we've picked as the 6 and 7. But Chris Atkin, Joe Mellor and Kai Morgan, I can see Joe Mellor having to do a job at hooker like he did at Lee.
Well, Chris Atkin does that as well. Chris Atkin can play practically any position, so it's really hard to put him into a box here.
Yeah.
And he's not a utility back or a utility forward because he can play anywhere. But I've got him as a half back because that's what Salford have listed him as.
No, this is where I think they are particularly weak, and I think they might be ageing, if I'm being honest. Jack Ormonroyd, King Viniawa, Brad Singleton, Alex Gerrard and Adam Sidlaw.
Yeah, aside from Ormonroyd, they've all been around a while.
Yeah.
And
The thing for me is Ollie Partington's been we expect to be named at 13. He had the 13 shirt last year. If they're the 5 props, he is going to have to play as a prop forward.
Yeah.
Singleton's had his injury issues and getting older. Sidlaw's had injury issues, and Partington's the one that you look at can do long minutes.
yeah, and I suppose Ben Helliwell played a bit of prop last year, a bit of second
Yeah.
row, a bit of loose forward. So
I can imagine Shorrocks being used as the 13.
I think Shorrocks will be used as a 13 as well, and I think Partington might be used through as a prop, but I don't know.
They're only looking at one hooker really, with Mellor and Atkin using as backups, but Amir Bruff, ex-Wiganer.
Yeah.
And in the second rows, this is probably where you would say they're quite strong, really. Andrew Dixon, Sam Stone, Shane Wright, Matty Foster.
Yeah, well, I like Shane Wright.
And you've also got to remember Callum Watkins played though quite a bit.
Yeah,
We did, to be fair.
Yeah,
it
so
was
if
Lafayette and Dion Cross at the centres, wasn't
if
it?
you like Lafayette and Dion Cross, I quite like Dion Cross. I like Chris Hankinson as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
I just
maybe a
wonder
couple
how-
Watkins into the second row, and one of them two playing.
I just don't know out of Dixon, Stone, Wright, and Foster who could play in the props.
No, maybe. Well, no, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't know them well enough to.
No,
to have
maybe
an
probably
opinion
be
on that.
Ollie Paddington.
Yeah, maybe. But they've lost some big names, and it can't be denied. Croft, Ackers, Burgess, Seo. Am I missing anyone else that they've missed? That they've let go?
Trying to think.
I think there's a couple more, but they're the four big ones, and they've left for different reasons, and they've got transfer fees for Croft and Ackers. Seo's obviously gone back to Australia.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was paying for Ken Seo or Joe Burgess. Really.
And Burgess has been released from his contract with an investigation pending. I'm not certain what's going on there, so I don't really want to comment on that. But there are four big players to lose.
Yeah.
Both your starting wingers, your 6 and your 9, who are a Man of Steel winner and an international hooker.
It's interesting. We've done the last year's bottom 6. Well, with London in there.
Yeah.
And we haven't touched any of the playoff teams, and obviously we haven't picked any of these teams to win the playoffs either. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. No.
So all three of us have got the same 6 playoff teams, which is a bit boring, but I think that says to me where Salford are at, because they were the closest challengers to the playoffs last year.
There was one difference. We should have said. Did we mention where we thought Leeds would finish? Because I had Leeds missing out at 7.
Well, I have Leeds. I have Leeds in 6th, actually.
Yeah, you have Leeds in 6.
I have Leeds in 6.
So we don't have the same top 6.
But almost perfectly.
Almost the same.
And Leeds just sneaking in at 6.
And I expect Leeds to be the ones to challenge, whereas last year Salford were the close. I mean,
Yeah.
Salford into the last day they were still in with a chance, weren't they? They had to beat Catalan. So I do think Salford will drop off just because I'm looking at that squad and I don't think there's.
Big ask for Paul Rowley go again with that
It's
squad,
so
innit?
tough. That's not a great squad. Do you think that's stronger or weaker than Castleford's squad? I
think the quality of player is better.
I've got them above Cass, but player for player, I think the quality of the squad's probably Cass.
Player for player, I think, if you matched up Salford's fullback with Cass's fullback, I think they would have the stronger 1 to 13. Salford, that is, like, in terms of player quality. But it's like you say, with it being that short of players, that's the bit they're going to struggle with.
I just can't see. Like we said, imagine they've got 5 real props, Partington at 6.
They're probably going to add 5 or 6
Yeah.
young players to this.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
But
No Super League experience, though.
no. What do you do if someone picks up an injury? Imagine if Partington gets injured for 2-3 months. They're really in trouble. Really in trouble. If they lose a winger, you have to put Watkins or Lafay out there, or a Hankinson. They're not wingers.
No.
Braley gets injured. Ryan goes to full-back. And
Yeah.
I like Ethan Ryan. But he's a utility player.
Ethan Ryan's perfect for this squad, man. But you can't have him just by himself.
Yeah, that's literally
He's
it.
the only winger named. So, yeah, you can't have him by himself. Lee Kershaw's still with the club. We were expecting him to be that number 2 from London earlier because he's on trial, but
If I was Salford, I'd be all over it.
so would I.
But there's always the financial cloud, and I can't lie and say I know enough about what's going on at Salford to be able to say this is what they should do. So I'll refrain from commenting on that side.
It's just disappointing, isn't it? Because Salford looked like, we mentioned LFC before, that they had the potential to build and go somewhere. They never really took it. Salford seemed to be there. Got to a grand final with Ian Watson. They were doing good. They were pushing, like you said, to the last day for trying to get the playoffs. They're looking like a team that was trying to compete for the playoffs and possibly push on. They've been hit with all of off the field stuff, financial problems. It looks like that's going to be very, very difficult for them to do now. So it's a bit disappointing, really, for the club.
That is a shame. It's a real shame.
One
Another
player-
team that I would like to see do well, but it's just not happening for them.
It just doesn't. I just can't see it. I can't see how they can string 2 or 3 wins together. Right, that wraps up. That wraps up the bottom 6. We'll come back and we'll talk through our playoffs.
Where we
in a
think the
second.
playoff teams will end up.
Thank you. So we're kicking off the second half with the team who finished 6th last year, Warrington. Right, let's start off with the main talking point. I've got them finishing in 6th. Matty, where do you see them finishing?
5th.
5th?
Yeah, 5th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lewis?
I've gone big. For liar, I've gone 3rd.
3rd.
3rd. I've gone.
I rate it. I honestly
It's-
think we've got a good
Is,
squad.
can I?
It's brave.
Yeah, go on,
It's
Lewis.
brave, right? Let me justify here. Right.
No.
My thinking behind this.
You do need to justify this.
Yes, well, my thinking behind it. Let me just hear me out, right? There is no doubt, we're looking at Warrington's squad here. There is no doubt there are talented players in that squad, right? I said it all last season. We know Darryl Powell got it wrong, and I kept on saying last season on the podcast, the exact moment he got that wrong was when he called the players out for not being good enough, and
Yeah.
he tried to go back on it and did a post-match interview. I think we're in an okay place, we're not in that bad of a place, and he tried to go back on it, showed that he kind of made the mistake, the players didn't buy him. And I remember I seen an interview with Amo, he said he walked in, it was a demotivated group of players, a group of players who just didn't look forward to the day jobs and awful culture and all the rest of it that we know when. Burgess has come in. He can use it as a reset. There's no bit of stability. Gary Chambers did his best towards the end, but again, when you've not got that stability of knowing what's happening next season, I do think, even though you can say we're taking it one game at a time, it does affect you in the back of your head. They've got Burgess in. If he can get them on side, playing well, and just get them enjoying the rugby again and looking forward to the day jobs, this squad has got players to win games. George Williams will win you games. Paul Vaughan was one of the, when he first come over, was the standout forward
Got on the dream team.
in the
But do you
competition.
not think that's the same with all the teams in the top 6? If you look at Hull, Kent, Wigan, Salford, Catalans, Saints, Catalans, Lee, I think they've all got players that can win it.
I do, but I think you look at the quality right across the field. I think they have got quality in pretty much.
I think it's a strong
every
squad.
position. It's a strong squad, and
Do
I
you
think
like centres though?
Well,
it's good. And
I was just gonna
Burgess,
say,
he is a
7 centres.
let's just go through the
We've only got 3.
Should we just go through the 117 very quickly?
Okay.
Dufty, Thewlis, King, Ratchford, Ashton. Halfbacks of George Williams and Josh Drinkwater. James Harrison, Danny Walker, Paul Vaughan. Ben Curry, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, Matty Nicholson. 14 being Roderick Tye, 15 Joe Philbin, 16 Zane Musgrove, and 17, I've lost number 17. Jodie Crowther.
Yeah.
Sorry. Now, my first thing with that is how many of them signings have come in and have actually took a position up, right? So, Lachlan Fitzgibbon has come in at second row, where Matty
Yeah.
Nicholson was playing, and Matty Nicholson's fitted in at 13.
Well, I don't really know how they're going to line up.
I always heard Matty Nicholson was a loose forward,
Yeah.
and I think he'll play there this year. I don't
They've
think
got
they're
him.
going to give him the number 13.
They've got him down as a second rower, but then they've given him number 13 shirt. So I don't know what they're going to do with him.
But what I mean by that is, you actually look, that's the same 1 to 7, including Toby King, who they let go, and he was there many previous years before that.
Yeah, but he's better than Matautia.
Yes, yeah, definitely. James Harrison and Paul Vaughan there last year.
Yeah.
They've replaced Danny Walker's now the starting 9 for Darryl Clark, who I think is going to be a massive miss.
Walker was playing a lot anyway, though.
He was, but now they're going to have to bring in someone else, and they replaced Darryl Clark with Dwyer and Sam Powell. I'm not saying that they're not good replacements, but I don't think there's any way you've got them massively strengthened there, other than Toby King coming in for
Matautia.
for Matautia.
Well, that is a big. That's a big
improvement.
You can't understate that. That's a much stronger player for that position.
But I'm looking at the other positions,
And Lachlan Fitzgibbon is a decent player as well.
and I can't remember who. Lachlan Fitzgibbon's a decent player as well. Musgrove is now wearing the number 16. I think it was Philbin last year. It might have been.
I don't know.
Yeah, who's now gone to 15 or.
I think Bullock might have been 16, or
Yeah.
Dodson, somebody like that. Them two have been.
We're not
demoted.
talking about a massive change to the squad,
No, the squad's not massively different.
and even though Darryl Powell got sacked and everything that happened with him, something to me has to fall on the players. You can't go from winning 8 out of 8 to that without there being some mentality issue among the squad. And some of the players that have come in will fix that. Sam Powell will be a leader. Toby King, Lachlan Fitzgibbon. But I just don't. I don't know. I can't see massive improvements. I think this is a 3-year job for Sam Powell. For Sam Burgess, sorry. I don't think he's
It's
targeting...
probably a 3-year job for Sam Powell if he's lucky.
Yeah. I just don't think this is something that they're trying to win this year. I don't think... Obviously, if they can win it, you'd want to win it. But I don't
You said
see...
the same about Matt Peat last year. 2022 now.
Yeah.
And went on and won the Cup, and then 2023 he won the other two, so that's what he'll be aiming for, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they might pick up a Challenge Cup, I'll be honest.
Is this team much weaker than the team that won the Challenge Cup for Wigan with Matty Peat? I don't think it is. Don't forget, that team was not the team we have now.
No, definitely not.
I have said third, by the way. I've not put them down for winning
No,
the league.
I-
No, but it's Sam Burgess, Jukesy.
Yeah,
No,
Sam
this
Burgess.
This is my childhood hero we're talking about.
I
That's
agree.
that
This
goes
is
a long way.
this is the childhood hero of every single English player who played from 8 to 13 on his back growing up as a kid. Everyone who ran that ball in at the pads at training, you shouted Burgess.
That's
There was
just-
no other name you shouted.
That's just you.
Everybody wanted to
round
be
this
Sam
table.
Burgess.
My childhood hero who played in my position was Ian Thornley.
You need to change childhood heroes. This is Sam Burgess. Jukesy, this
I
is
know-
the leader of men.
I do agree with you.
They're going to want to play for Burgess, those players. They run through brick walls for him.
Yeah,
You'd like to think so.
But again, when he was a player, was he that player that would give a big team talk and whatever? Because I always saw him as a player that you'd watch him do something and go, I have to follow him. Because if he's doing it, I have to do it.
Yeah.
Now he's got to sit there and talk. Now he's got to manage 30 players.
He might be really good
He's
at that.
captain though, so if
He might be really good at that. You
Get
don't
him
know,
in
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
He's captained his country,
Yeah.
England, so he
I
must
know,
have been
I'm
given good at, a bit of a leader in a team talk type thing.
There's not necessarily a thing that he has to speak in team talks. He wants to sat there every day and done a team talk and come up with tactical analysis or whatever. It's a massive jump. And I think, who's the guy that's the CEO for...
Carl Fitzpatrick.
I know, it's Stuart something.
Oh,
His name's gone from my head.
Middleton. No.
He'll come to me in a second. But he was interviewed after they appointed him and said this is a brave call. And I can
Oh yeah, they said we'd done the brave choice.
we took the brave choice, and to me, it needed to be safer. It might work.
You can't go safe again.
I don't know, because
Last few times
was
they went, yeah.
They said was the safest. You know, he was coaching, got to a grand final.
Darryl Powell was the safe choice.
Coached Man of Steel, and you know.
Would you have took him or Holbrook? I know Holbrook
Something
ended up
like
going
that.
to the Roosters, but would you have took Burgess or Holbrook?
Well, Holbrook turned him down.
No,
So it's irrelevant.
okay, would you have took Wayne? If you were Warrington, would you have took Sean Wayne?
You're telling me if Sean Wayne is available, they would have. I don't think they would have picked Sam Burgess.
I don't think they would have picked Sam Burgess.
So clearly, Wayne isn't available.
I just think it's...
I don't mind the appointment at all.
I don't mind it, but there's a lot of risk in it. And they're going to have to back him for 2-3 years.
If I'm a Warrington fan, I'm much happier with this than with Sam Powell's appointment.
Darryl Powell's.
Darryl Powell's appointment.
No, I agree. I just think this isn't going to be...
Because that was
Success
playing it safe. Powell was playing it too safe. Bit boring. Signed all his old cast teammates. Signed his Ryan Sheridan as assistant. It's just a bit boring.
When I think about it, I think there's a lot of risk to it. If he does really, really well, he might fire off after a year or two and go back if there's an NRL job open. Because they're already talking about him for a future NRL coach.
yeah. If he does well, he'll be in every conversation for every NRL.
For any NRL job available. If he does poorly, you've got the thing of he does live over in Australia and he lived there for a long time. Homesickness. He's left his kids over there. There's so much that can go with it. It could work. I'm not saying it can't
Yeah, well,
work.
no one knows. Do
Michael Maguire did the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
But this thing of Burgess is a leader and he's this and he's that, I agree with it, but I don't think he's a leader. He's not proved that he's a leader as a head coach. Everyone's just assuming he's
No,
going to
well,
be a
yeah,
brilliant leader
it's-
as a head coach, and I'm just a bit reserved to pass judgment and say he's going to step in and be a world-class head coach.
Well, no one knows that, do they?
Because how many top players have gone on to head coaches?
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, the risk was there with Matt Peat. The risk was there with it. When you appoint any coach, it's a
Yeah.
big risk.
You don't know. Look at we go back. You mentioned Matt Peat, and I go back to when we first and before we won that Challenge Cup in Matt Peat's first season. And was Wigan again the coaching staff wish and you know
Yeah,
his picture of Lee Breers and
Pine
look at that and then Lee Breers. You don't know what's going to happen.
I just
do you?
think- I
But
just
none of
think
us know. But I think Burgess, it's a fresh start for them. Where they've been in a very, negative place. players are still there, good players, and if he can get them playing for him and enjoying the rugby, this team will be. They're not this team will not be an easy win.
No, I
And
agree.
why under Daryl Powell, besides those first 8 games, I think teams are looking, any team in the league and going, we could have 2 points.
No, I agree. I just think it's very the opinions on him are very extreme. That he's going to be a brilliant head coach and fix it, or he's going to be a failure. And I think after 10 games, his fate might already be sealed, without him really having chance to do it. If that makes sense. I think this is a 3-year project, and I don't think he'll get 3 years.
We've talked a lot about him. Any more on the squad?
I'm a little bit. I don't know whether I'm being lulled into a sense of security with the depth of the squad. I look at the halves. In some positions, I like the depth. Matty Russell as a backup winger.
Yeah.
But then you look at the halves, and they've only got Leon Hayes. Would Ratchford step in there?
I'm not sure about that prop rotation.
The prop rotation, there's going to be a lot reliant on Harris, Vaughan, Musgrove, and then you're going into Bullock, Dudson, Lucas Green,
But then
and Philbin being used up
I
there.
am a fan of Philbin. I am a fan of Crowther. I am a fan of Whitehead. From what I think
How
from
do
Witness.
you use 3 hookers? Walker, Brad Dwyer's been given the 23 shirt, so clearly he's in the thinking.
Yeah, I don't
Sam
know.
Powell, 32.
But they'll not use all.
That's going to be the interesting.
They'll not use
one.
all 3 of them.
No,
I
they won't
think
use-
who this is out because if obviously Walker's got, I know numbers on the back doesn't mean a lot these days, but Walker looks like he's been given the 9 shirt.
Yeah.
They've been and got Brad Dwyer back from Hull. Then they've signed Powell from. I mean, to me, personally, I know we've said this before. We've had conversation when Darryl Clark was there. We said, does it sometimes when he plays 9 hinder Williams a bit because you've got him running out of 9 when actually Williams sometimes wants the ball to make something happen. So
But do you not think Walker and Dwyer are similar nines with that?
that's what I mean.
The
So,
running nines.
so for me, I personally think if you're looking at that as a point, Sam Powell being the controlling 9 of just organising the
Yeah.
forwards, make sure you text everyone, you take me here, you take me there, let Williams play off the back of that. You've then got Drinkwater, you're organising 9.
Yeah.
That to me looks like a really good sparring unit, but it depends what Burgess wants to do. Like running 9s and have a threat out of 9.
You could just bring Danny Walker then off the bench for a spark, or Dwyer.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'd be inclined to put.
But he's got 3 there. Who,
Yeah.
realistic. None of them are like kids, are they? The 9s who could
Yeah, yeah.
all play.
I mean,
So,
they'd all start for
Could Sam
London.
Powell play 13?
I thought that
I
when,
thought
when
that.
Lewis was talking, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He didn't play much 13 for
I
us,
just
really.
think for a full season, it's a big step up.
No, he won't, no.
From being a half to a 9.
But that might be why we see Sam Powell on the bench ahead of Dwyer.
Yeah,
Because
he's
utility.
apologies. Shall we move on to the next team?
Yeah,
The
go on.
team who finished 5th last season was Lee, and I'll go first if you want me to. I've got Lee finishing 5th again. Matty, what have you got him?
I've got him 7th.
Lewis,
I've gone lawfully. I've gone 8.
8.
I don't think they're quite as strong as they were, and I think teams around them might have got a bit better. Not much better.
I
think they'll be close.
I'm looking at it and going, you know what? I possibly think the outside of 17 is a little bit stronger.
What
than
did
what it
we
had been
what did we
previously.
call for last year for Lee? What was the big thing they had to do this off season?
Some
Improve depth.
Yeah,
And they have done that.
they have done that. They could have possibly go one step further, but they brought in Dan Norman. They've brought in Frankie Holton permanently. They've brought in what's his name? Owen Trout, who I like. I think he's a very, very good
Yeah,
player.
Owen Trout's quite highly thought of, isn't it?
They brought in Matt Davis, so they have brought in some more bodies there. Now, could they cover for an injury to Asiata? I think again I think they're only light in the hooker loose forward position, the 9 and 13.
But that was the biggest problem last year.
I know.
When they didn't have Ipape or they didn't have Asiata, they didn't win usually.
Do you know who I think would have been the right choice for him? Sharks.
Sharks, yeah, but I agree. And when I was at the grand final, some Lee fans were near me shouting for Sharks to sign for Lee, and he basically shook his head at them. So I don't know whether it was because he didn't want to go to Lee,
Or he hadn't signed the...
or he got a better offer off Salford, or Lee maybe didn't offer him at all. I don't know.
You never know. I just think he would have been a really good, strong option.
Don't forget, Trout can play there
Yeah.
at loose forward if you need him to.
Yeah.
There's a lot there in that utility forward section who can play a lot of positions.
Yeah, I do like it though. I like the signing of Matt Moylan. I think he improves them in the half. I like Ben McNamara.
I like the sound of Ben McNamara as well.
Could he play at 9 one of the new halfbacks, Matt Moylan or Ben McNamara? I'm not massively aware of Matt Moylan. Obviously,
I
He
very
only played
successful.
6-1.
I don't remember him ever playing 9,
I
6
can't
and
remember
1.
he played 9.
6-1. Yeah.
But maybe one of them fitting in there.
I don't know if Ben McNamara's ever played 9.
That's the reason I've gone 8 really, and I've gone the lowest. I think they got a bit of a. Let me finish before people jump down my throat. So yeah, when I say lucky, I don't mean lucky. They worked hard, they got the wins, but I think they got very lucky on the injury front.
Yeah.
If they have a season again,
They did
Like,
pick
really
up
well.
some injuries, but I
they
don't.
did but,
Towards the end, it
was-
Towards the end,
After they
but
won the cup.
And they lost
Like they
Latelli
kept-
for a.
They did
kept-
drop off. They were top, weren't they, as well, for a
They
while?
lost. They had Latelli out for a long time.
That's true, actually. That's
Well,
true.
Asiata got injured, and they kept making a very big thing of it, going, well, there's no Asiata, and they've done this, and they've won with Johnny Asiata, and this was a big, and I was a bit, at the time, I think we had, I don't know how many out at that one, I'm like, don't get me wrong, yes, he is the good player, he's he's got a loose forward with a set of hands on him, who is in their attack, and we know how impressive Lee's attack was last season, but I'm thinking, it's one player at the end of the day, the squad's there with 5 people missing.
When Wigan have 5 people missing, they're expected to get on with it.
Yeah,
Leeds
that's
are
what I
expected to
mean.
get on with it. Lee have to get to that point where people think that about him.
So I think they have a couple of injuries, and I think they're going to be struggling. I hope they don't, because I did like that. There was obviously this bit of a.
I'd like Lee
success
to be
story
strong
being so-
and the Battle of the Borough as well. It's a big thing. I want Lee to be strong.
I just don't know if they can do it again and go back to back being so impressive as they was last season. So I've gone a bit lower this
See,
season.
I don't
Great.
think they'll be as impressive. I just think they've got enough wins in them. I think they've got enough quality players and enough wins in them. And big game players is Hardacre.
They're just the victims for me of an improved Leeds side, and someone has to drop out the playoffs. And I think with the momentum, wasn't with them at the end of the season. They dropped from top to 5th.
Yeah.
And those injuries late on to key players they couldn't deal with, and I don't think they've addressed that really very much. So I do think that they'll end up just outside the playoffs, but they are still going to be good, and they're going to be really hard to beat at Leeds Sports
I think
Village.
they'll upset a lot of teams.
They're going to be great to watch.
Could they have another cup run?
Nothing stopping them.
It'd be interesting to see if they targeted another cup run.
I'm excited to see Latelli because, like Lewis said, he didn't play very much last year. Prop rotation.
But they didn't do it a lot last year. Amon and Mulhern played a lot of
That's
minutes.
true, actually. That's true.
And now they've brought in Dan Norman, Matt Davis, Owen Trout. It gives them a couple of options. Whether you think that they're as good as
I like the
Amon
back.
and
I
Mulhern.
like the back row. I'm just not sure on that prop rotation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right, the team who finished 4th this year. Last year, sorry, it was Hull KR. I've got them finishing 4th again.
I've gone 4th.
Yeah, me too.
Right,
We all agree?
We're all pretty.
Not since London we've agreed.
Yeah, we're bound to happen at some point.
I've gone 3rd.
I'm just a little bit surprised. Your favourite player, Jordan Abdul, gone on loan to Catalans for a season-long loan.
Yeah.
A bit of a surprise, that one.
Yeah.
They've obviously lost Sean Kenny Dowell and replaced him with Ollie Gildart. Mikey Lewis and Tyrone May are probably going to be in the half. Peter Hiku is probably going to be the full-back, as he's been named.
Yeah, Niall Evald has been given number 2, but I don't know where he's going to play.
No, again, I think they've got a little bit of depth. Opacek, I like. Lewis Senior, obviously got Joe Burgess with number 35 on. Now he's got that because he's obviously come so late.
Yeah.
But they've got depth there. And Evald. There's 4 wingers that probably demand a starting spot. And then you throw in Corey Hall.
They've got a lot of competition in that 1 to 5 spot.
Outside backs,
Peter
yeah.
Hiku, obviously at full back, but you've got Niall Evans competing for full back, which means Hiku would probably go to centre. Then you've got Opacek and Gilder in centre for Hiku to fill in there. You've got Hall and Burgess in
And Senior.
on the
Let me
wings
just throw-
and Senior.
It was
There's
excellent.
a lot of
Let me
competition
just
for those
throw another
1 to
one
5
into it.
Corey Hall.
places.
I'll just go through another one. Corey Hall to
Corey
play
Hall.
centre. But they've given the young lad Phoenix the number 22, so clearly he's in the plans to have a squad number that high. Could Mikey Lewis slot in at full back? Tyrone May did a job in the centres.
I don't know. I think
There's so many options there. I think Lewis is the 7.
Yeah.
Lewis and May. Well, the only reason there's no 6.
It's because they've retired the
They've
number.
retired that number, so I do think it'll be Lewis at 6 and May at 7. Lewis played 6 for England, remember?
Yeah.
When Williams was missing.
No, I do agree, but I just think
I'm really excited
if
to
something
see.
happened and they needed to make a change, you've got so many options.
Yeah, I'm excited to see number 24, Reece Butterworth. He was
From Wakefield, wasn't he?
no, he's from the Championship.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking
or
of
League
Whitbread.
One. I can't remember. Anyway, I think he was League One Player of the Year.
Yeah.
I think that rings a bell. Dewsbury maybe, Hooker.
But they brought in Whitbread and Tanganoa from
Wakey, yeah, yeah.
and you would expect Tanganoa to play a lot of games. I just wonder whether they're a little bit light in the props.
Yeah, I've seen a few a few fans for them talk about Tennyson impressing in pre-season. I think he's one who played in that game where they sent all the kids to us last year.
Yeah.
Tennyson, a prop forward. So we'll see about him. Aiden played for them last year. And they've got Sam Luckley listed as a prop now. I think he was always a bit more of a second row, but we'll see.
Maybe he's put a little bit of size on it.
I think he did play prop a lot last year as well. I'm with you on the prop rotation there, because Hadley and Staunton, they're listed as utilities, but I do think they play more back row. So I'm with you on the prop rotation, but I do think it's a very strong back row. I think it's a strong set of outside backs with a lot of competition for places. I don't mind the half backs.
Yeah, probably if I look at that, really
I like the
strong
hookers.
outside backs, probably a bit light in the forwards.
We liked last year Litton and Parcell as the combo. Well, I certainly did. Obviously, there's no Parcell now. It'd be Butterworth and Litton that you would imagine doing that. So that'll be interesting to see whether Hull KR still have that 1-2.
The 1-2 punch, or whether they slightly change.
Or whether they change tack. Yeah, they could just run with Jez Litton the whole time.
It'll be interesting. The pressure's on for them because you've got to keep moving forward and they've got to keep adapting. And for me, again, if they finish fourth again and have that consistency, I think that's a positive season for them.
Well, we talked about Hull FC, talked about Salford as being like the clubs that had the kind of opportunity never really kicked on.
It's
Hull
okay.
KR's is the one
Right
who's
now.
It's their turn, yeah.
They get in there, and I do think, I hope they go well again this season.
It's right in front of us and it's happening right now. This obviously we're talking about Salford and we're talking five-ish years ago. Hull FC for the last maybe 10 previous years.
When they were doing the Challenge Cup runs
Yeah,
in
yeah.
20.
Hull KR's
16.
target, Hull KR's to go to the next level is happening now.
There's chances now.
Would you target just silverware, Challenge Cup?
They've got to get another playoff game at home. Top 4.
Yeah.
I think as a club, they're maybe a couple of years away from a grand final still yet. They went to the final of the Challenge Cup last year and obviously lost it in a very good final game against Leigh.
Yeah.
I think targeting a cup run and trying to just win silverware is a good build. It like they've come close, win silverware, and then keep building from there. So I think targeting the cup would be a very good tactic. I think.
Before we finish this section and move on to the top 3, and obviously do a lot of talking about Wigan, which
Yeah.
we love doing, I've got one question for you. Put yourself in a Hull KR fan's shoes.
Yep.
Would you sacrifice getting the top 6 to win a Challenge Cup?
Yes.
I would. It's silverware.
Unless I supported Wigan, Catalan or St Helens, I would say yes to that.
Yeah.
Leeds maybe.
Leeds haven't won anything for a while. I think I definitely would. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, I possibly think Catalans would as well.
Yeah, get a trophy in the bag.
Yeah. Right. We're going to wrap it up there and we'll come back and talk about the top 3. Now we're into the home straight of the top 3. If you've worked it out by now, we've all got a similar top 3 to last year. Maybe not someone else in this group. But we're going to start with Saints. They finished 3rd last year. Matty, what do you see him finishing again this year, mate?
Well, you've given it away because you said again. I think 3rd again.
It's been a long day.
3rd again.
Where do you see him, Lewis?
I've gone different. I've gone 2nd.
I've got him in 2nd as well.
I think they're going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be good again, aren't they?
Listen, they've lost Roby. There's going to take time. And
Yeah.
just Parsi isn't there to start with.
They have lost Roby, but, and I know it's a big but apart from that, they've managed to keep hold of.
Who's got big butt? James Roby.
No, I know it's a big but 'cause he's got big shoes to fill, James Roby. But apart from that, he might have a big
Listen,
butt. I don't know. I've not seen
listen,
it. But
I think
they've kept those rumours of Wellsby going. Would he go to the NRL? They've kept him there. They've kept Older Dodd. There was rumours of him going to West.
Listen, I think Darryl Clark is arguably the best replacement they could get.
I agree. James Roby's big butt aside, I do think there's going to be some other big butts leaving soon, but they haven't left yet. And I do think that getting Darryl Clark was the best replacement they could have got. You can't do that for everyone.
No.
If Wellsby left as well, they couldn't get whoever the Darryl Clark equivalent is.
They couldn't get Field. They couldn't go and get...
Well, Darryl Clark's the J Field of Aye.
You know what I mean, though. I'm trying to pick like one of the top.
No, I
ones,
know what you
but
mean. Darrell Clark's a good option. He's Federation trained.
Yeah.
He's an England player.
I just
Decent,
look
but
at
you haven't got the money to replace all of them with Darrell Clark equivalent.
I just look at it. Makinson picks up injuries, and he's getting to that point. He's got his knee. Is it his right knee that he's got issues with?
Talk
And
about
he's constantly having
injuries.
injections.
Mark Percival.
Mark Percival in the centres.
Said his name with a lot of aggression. That's Percival.
No, because I rate Mark
I really
Percival,
rate
but I just he's not been on the pitch enough.
I really rate him, but you can't consistently get 20 games out of him. So then you're looking, and let's say Makinson and Percival miss a game.
Hurl Kane,
You're playing T. Ritson and Conrad Hurrell.
who got done by Eckersley and Douglas on the reserve grand
Yeah.
final.
So Conrad Hurrell can't play 20 games this season.
Do-
If he's playing more than 20 games this season, you're in trouble.
Hurl and Ritson is not a good partnership. Percival and it would be Percival and Benison, wouldn't it, on that side? That is a good partnership.
And
Although I like Benison, and
I like Benison, but
when we spoke to those Saints fans last year, they didn't rate Benison that much. They were all for T. Ritson starting. I just don't see it.
Listen, I don't think he's got the lightning pace or whatever, but for me he's a consistent, steady Eddie, does his job, good under the high ball, decent defensively.
Here's an option, right? Say Percival is injured. That's if or when Percival's injured. What about Moses Mbai in the centres?
He's only got one 9 then.
He's better than...
Can Matt Whitley do a job in?
I think Matt Whitley will do a job in the centres. I also think Metaltier will do a job in the props.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just looking, and you look at the props as well.
You've got a lot of depth in that back row.
Yeah.
Good filling at centre.
Yeah.
Because they've got Maturity, Bachelor, Sutton and Whitley. So if one of them was to go into the centre, you have still got strength in that back row.
If you think about the back row, they can all sort of fill into another place. Sam Morrell can go into centre. Sorry, Bachelor's done a bit of loose forward. Matautia in the props. What about Johnny Vaughan? He can go
to Radio X.
Radio 1.
doing to the next 4 till 7:10.
He can fill in anywhere. Breakfast show, drive home.
But on a serious note, I think Metaltier will play prop. Because I look at the props they've got. As it started the season, they've got Walmsley, Lees, Parzy's out injured.
So Walmsley,
Delaney.
Lees, and they're pinning a lot on Delaney.
And Morgan Knowles will play a prop.
Do you know which one? I presume it's Buckle or Stevens. There's a big fuss over one of them two. I
don't know which one it is. I've
One-
heard things. But
One of them two is apparently better than Delaney, but I don't know which one it is. So we'll have to see.
But I think Metaltier will play in the props. I think Morgan Knowles will play in the props, and probably James Bell play at loose forward.
Yeah, maybe.
And that then means
Yeah.
you've got Batchelor, Sirinen and Whitley to be your 2 second rowers, one off the bench.
Yeah, that's good. That's more.
Mbai will be
Yeah,
on the bench.
that's a more solid lineup. That I think.
Yeah.
Forward pack.
But the one injury away. They don't know how Parzy's going to come back.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they've kept him on, similar to what we've done with Mike Cooper. We've kept him on and we've let him rehab, and that we've looked after the player. Saints have done exactly the same with Parzy, because it could have been an option to just cut him. And
It's a great name, isn't it? Ignatius Parsley.
yeah,
It's up there.
Parsley.
Parsley.
Yeah, if you're
Is he,
the voice of the
He
Wigan,
always calls
the
him
Wigan
Parsley,
comments.
doesn't he? He always calls him
They
Parsley.
stayed even out Ignatius
It's up
Parsley.
there though with Jason Carrigari,
Yeah.
Harry Bowes.
Yes, Harry Ball.
Just
You like having balls.
genius name. Johnny Vaughan. No, he's a new one to add to the list.
But I just look and I just think Parzy might not be back for 4 months. You pick up an injury. Walmsley's had his injury issues now, and he's, how old is he? 32, 33? Matty Lees, I'm not his biggest fan. I'm more of a fan of Morgan Knowles. I rate Morgan Knowles higher. I don't see the depth there. You look at 18 Wingfield, 19 Matt Whitley, I really like. Number 20 is
Delaney.
Then you went to 21 Ben Davies, 22
Sam Royal.
is Sam Royal, 23 Hurrell.
It just feels like they've been 21, 22 for ages.
Yeah.
Isn't it? A long time.
Jake Burns. But you'd think one of them would come in and take that position.
Well,
It's
yeah.
about time.
Well, number 3 was left open for ages. Obviously, they were signing Blake. But once Ben Davies wasn't given that number 3 shirt, it should have been obvious he was only ever going to be a backup at St Helens.
Yeah. And I look at the same with Hurrell. He can't play 27 games a season unless something's massively changed with his fitness levels.
When we say it, so I've noticed, just thinking about it now, comparing it to Wigan. If you look at that, like, prop area where you're saying the Walmsley's getting a bit older, Pears, we don't know who's going to come back. There's always a couple of years ago, like thinking like Wigan under Lamb, we had Smithies coming through, Byrne coming through, Havard coming through, and you knew they weren't kind of fair off like first team level. They were probably playing games because of injuries, but you thought actually in a couple of years they'll be ready. There's no one there kind of who's done that for Saints. It's like they've always like replaced, been and got Matautiu and bought him, been and got Siren and bought him.
Brought in Matt Whitley.
Brought in Matt Whitley. There's been no kids, you know, like who you think actually, like, you know, you could see him being
Who've broken
starters
it
for Saints. And
with the forwards,
breakout players,
with the forwards, there's not been. There have been a few
they've had
backs.
Wells,
Do you think
for
that?
example.
Sorry, do you think that's?
Benison.
Do you think that's
Benison.
because of the success that they've had? They've had that success for 4 or 5 years.
Maybe.
And you keep going, and you keep going. You can't drop Louis McCarthy Scarborough. You can't drop James Larobe. You can't phase out an Alex Walmsley or a Parsi. Because when you're at the top, it's a very difficult thing to do. To say, listen, we're going to cut you and bring in a 22.
What's a decent point? I mean, when we had Smithies, for example, we were phasing out Mitch Clark. It's a lot easier to phase out Mitch Clark than to phase out Alex Walmsley.
But you look at like the Leeds side that was very successful. There were a lot of young lads, and when it started coming to an end, they hadn't phased anyone out really. And I think that's what brings on year after year after year. And when I say that, obviously Saints had a lot of success over 4 or 5 years, but to get it for 10, 15, you have to constantly be phasing players out. You look at the side and you go in Lomax, he's still 30. Makinson, almost be over 30. Percival must be over 30. Hurrell.
Lomax, he's captain now.
He is captain.
And he got a new deal, so another 3 years.
3 years.
So 3 more seasons.
But who's going to come in and replace him?
Lomax.
What do they do if a Wellsby goes? Who's going to replace him? If a Dodd goes, who's going to replace him? If Parsi can't play again, which was the worry when it happened, if he can't play again, and I hope he does, but if he can't, who's ready to take that third prop spot? Because Delaney's still only 21. There's no one of that 23 to 24 that I think should be wanting to be a starter every week.
Saints are going to, for me, they've got 1-2 seasons left maybe, and then they're going to be going through a transition period. Lomax will go, Makinson will go, Percival will go, Walmsley will go, and there's going to be a big kind of haul out of it. A bit similar to Leeds when the golden generation went. I think Saints aren't far off that going, and it's just making sure for them that they don't do what Leeds did, and they find a way to get through it.
I don't worry about Saints, but I could see a situation where if they pick up a couple of injuries to key positions, they lose a Wellsby or a Lomax and maybe a Walmsley or a Knowles with Parsley out. Parsley, I'm doing it now myself. Parsley out. If they lose 2, maybe 3 players, I think they're all right in the second row, but they're going to end up with a lot of filling in, and the wheels could quickly fall off.
Yeah.
That's just sat there in the back of my mind. If everyone stays fit, and I back my league table off everyone being fit, but if they don't, I think Saints could be the one that have a few issues.
Well, let's hope that happens then.
I might have to bring in Origano and Italian mixed herbs.
That's shocking. No way you've sat there and plotted that.
Ever since you said Parsley again.
They got me.
Wow. Right. On that note, let's move on to Catalans. They finished second last year. Matty, where have you got them finishing?
Second again.
Lewis?
This was me shock. I've gone wire high and I've gone Catalans dropping out really for that, and so I've gone 5th for Catalans.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've gone. I've completely forgot now because I've
Third.
just closed. I've gone second.
No, you haven't. You just put St Helens at
Did I
second.
put St Helens second?
Yeah.
Sorry, I must have changed my mind. Catalans third. I agree that I think there's been a lot of changes there, but I think they've replaced well. I like Nicarima. I like Fage. Jordan Abdul.
Sirinen.
Thingy Sirinen.
Sims.
Tarek Sims. I think they've just done enough to replace it. My concern more than anything, obviously they've got 3 very good wingers in Davies, Yaha, Johnston. Yaha could play in the centres if they needed as well.
They've got 3 good centres as well.
Yeah, they've got 3 good centres. They've got options in the half-backs. With that Cesar Rouge could play in there as well. The hookers, they seem fine with Mickey and Da Costa. Loose forward, they've got options. They've got options probably a little bit light in the second row. But Tarek Sims.
My worry, and I think you might be saying this, I like the backs, but for once, it's not a deep forward pack.
I think
It's the opposite of what Catalan usually are.
all I was going to say was I think the second rows in the loose forward position, Seguier, Manu Mao, Tariq Sims, Bailey Sirinen, Ben Garcia at 13, is strong. The forward punch, and I think they might have to tap into Manu Mao playing in the props or Tariq Sims playing there
Yeah.
to go alongside Mike McMeekin, Busquets, Navarrete, Chris Sate, Takiaho.
That's another one for your food team.
Which one's that one? Sorry.
Is that Chris Sate?
Yeah.
We'll stop with the food puns.
We are going to make a 1 to 13 of purely food like, players. That's going to be
I think
an
I'll miss an episode.
We'll bring it special.
But Jordan Desiree,
No, I'm seeing them written down. I actually think that's quite a decent forward rotation. Prop
I
forward.
think it's 6 good props.
I like those props actually.
But
And-
you're an injury away from being down to 1 or 2 and a ban. One of them picks up a ban.
No, I'm thinking about it. I was worried about this forward pack for Catalan. I think it's all right. I don't know why they've got so many half-backs. I think maybe Jordan Abdul was a surprise that he was available.
I would just say, I think they're probably a strong 6 compared to anyone else in the league.
Those props.
Yeah, but I think they've got 7, 8. We Saints.
It depends if you put Sims in.
I think
As
he's
a
got number
prop.
11 and he
Or
would
bit-
suggest that he would play second row.
Yeah.
Second row, Tarek, I think.
I think Tarek will be second row as well, but you don't really know.
Do you think this is a bit of an aging side again?
In
In the forwards more than anything, Mike McMeekin.
yeah, Navarrete.
Navarrete's been around a long time.
Takiaho's been around a while. And he was
Yeah,
Ben
yeah.
Garcia, Manu
I get
Mao.
it. Sims is towards the end of his career. Garcia,
Mickey Mack.
Mickey Mack. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, there's a few good young forwards.
Who was the guy that went to Leeds?
Gudemond.
Gudemund.
I like Seguier a
He'd be one that
lot.
I'd wanted to keep. If
I
I
would
was-
have. I think they needed to keep Gudemond. He's a strong forward,
Mm.
French forward, young player. I like the backs. Like I said before, they're a lot younger in the backs. It's not like a typical Catalan side. This.
No, it's not.
But I like the centres. I like the outside backs. Morg's exciting, isn't he? Every time he gets the ball,
Yeah, it causes problems.
Morg is something exciting is going to happen.
It causes problems. I just don't know whether.
You tell us why 4 teams are going to be better than him, Lewis.
Yeah,
I get what you mean, they've replaced well. I suppose, it's all if buts and maybes, but it's how they gel, isn't it? Obviously, Sam Tompkins and Mitchell Pearce going at the same time. If one of them goes, but they keep the other as one of the main
My only thing with
leaders,
that
they're
is-
able to do it.
is
I
there's a-
think both of them going at the same time, both spine players, both leaders,
My
both
only
kind of
argument-
X-factor players for them.
my only argument to that, Lewis, would be: do you not think they're a club that regularly replace the spine?
Possibly, I
They've
just
had
think...
a lot of players in Maloney. I think it was just before Maloney, and I've gone blank.
Didn't they have?
But they had a lot of players coming for 2-3 years, and then they
Yeah,
move on.
it sounds to me maybe something Catalan do 2-3 and then they move and they get
So I
someone
don't
else
think
in.
this is going to be as big as.
Yeah, I suppose it's how they gel, isn't it? I mean, I know that's the two. I mean, apart from that, they've managed to. I know the
Drinkwater.
Yeah,
they
they're
had
Drinkwater.
wasn't it? Obviously, they kept all a bit of Takia. How was a bit of a weird thing. He went and then he came back or whatever. They managed to keep all of him, which meant that really Tompkins. I know you've just talked about Gudemond, but I'm talking isn't that big players for them. No disrespect to Gudemond, but
Yeah.
obviously Tompkins and Pearce were big players. They've gone.
They've replaced good.
Apart from that, the 1 to 13, kind of as they've managed to keep all of them and stay the same. I suppose it's just how they gel, obviously. Nick Arima and Theo Farge is going to be, or Jordan Abdul, depending on how they set up the 6 and the 7 there. That's got a new partnership with Artie Morgan instead of Sam Tompkins. So it's just how they click, I suppose. Who knows, they could hit the ground running and get ready to keep it up. I hope they do, because I like seeing a good French team in Super League.
It's not
But
the
for
biggest
me,
squad. Only 27.
I think they're gonna drop down.
It's not the biggest squad, but I do think there's quite a lot of French talent that's just sitting just below that
Just
27.
waiting. They've got
They had
such
a
a massive area.
They had a
of-
pre-season friendly against, it was against France, basically. Against France, but all the players who weren't Catalan players. And I think the whole Catalan side was pretty much mostly French. And there was a lot of players that aren't on this list that played in that game, so they have clearly got that French talent coming through.
They've got an entire country to pick
The
from.
weird thing is, this is always worth mentioning, is that I found out today, when England play France,
Yeah.
the French team is going to have to be just Catalans because Toulouse have got a game the next day.
No.
Yeah. They've only stopped Super League games, they've not stopped Championships, or Toulouse are playing the next day, and it's against somebody good as well. I can't remember who it is, but I think it might be Wakey. So Toulouse aren't going to be able to provide
Well-
any players.
Right, RFL, fix it. You've got
No,
2
they
months
won't.
to fix it.
They won't fix it, Tom.
They won't.
They won't.
But
They
you've got
won't.
2 months to go and do it.
They won't do anything. But that's just stupid.
That's bang wrong.
So either they dip into Elite One, which is now called
Do you
Top
think-
13, which
here's one for
I don't
you.
think they will do. They'll just pick all Catalans' babies.
Do you think Toulouse,
The
because it
junior-
devalues the game,
Les Junior Drax.
I would really hope Toulouse say, right, we'll just release you and we'll send a weekend team.
No
but,
way.
But
No, you can't expect Toulouse to do that.
But that's what I mean. I would hope they would do that, but that's bang out of order from the RFL to set.
No, you
it
can't.
up.
You can't expect Toulouse to do that.
I don't expect them to. I just hope a little bit more hopes that they want them to play for the national side.
Why would you want Wigan to do that if England were playing?
No, but to get a chance to play for your country,
It should be the most important thing,
Yeah.
but it isn't.
and the RFL have said it's not the most important thing by doing that.
Mm.
Right. Before we go on to Wigan, who
That's a rant there that we didn't plan on going on.
no, I didn't even know that. I've stayed off Twitter the last couple of weeks, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Before we go on to Wigan,
Mm.
I'm going to ask you about the trophies. Obviously, I'm guessing we've all put Wigan to finish top,
Yes.
Well, yeah.
which would suggest winning the league leaders' shield.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously.
Obviously, but
You
what-
win it if you come top.
Okay, not my best moment. But what I mean by that is
The most
Wigan-
consistent team. Most consistent team over 27 weeks.
we're going to be competing for 4 trophies this year.
Yeah.
Potentially the league leaders, grand final, Challenge Cup, and the World Club Challenge. If you had to not prioritise one of them, what would it be?
Not prioritise.
Not prioritise. You're going for 3. Which one do you think would be the one that?
If you give me the option to win 3 of them,
Hmm.
then I would not win the League Leaders Shield. I'd rather win the World Club Challenge than the League Leaders Shield, and it's between those two. The League and Cup are number 1 and 2, I'd say, in that order.
See, I think win the World Club Challenge, win the league, and win the league leaders shield
I'd
to show that it didn't affect whatever.
I'd rather win the league than the World Club Challenge. I'd rather win the league again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think
Lose to Penrith. It's the second week of the season.
knowing that Penrith are coming over here to right the wrongs
Yeah.
and whatever. And
You win. I mean, I'm desperate to win the league every year, but that's the most important thing for me. Cup second, World Club Challenge third, League Leaders fourth.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you
You-
agree, boys.
Yeah, no, I think so. We've talked about it before, haven't we, last season. League leaders, I don't think, gets the recognition it deserves.
Mm.
It's probably the hardest one to win, but the most undervalued.
Mm.
Do you see any shock winners for the Challenge Cup or the Grand Final?
Challenge Cup, I've gone OKR. A bit like I was saying when we was talking about OKR, when I put it in fourth, I said I think they were a couple of years off a grand final yet, but they did get to the final last time, and I think if they can again finish top 6, get in the playoffs, and go one step further and win the cup and win some silverware, that's the next kind of step for me on Hull KR's building journey. They've done a really good season last season, get some silverware this season, the form of a
And then kick
cup. I
on.
think they're a bit of a way from a grand final, and then kick on from there.
I've not thought of this, but I'm going to go Catalans for the cup.
Well, I was about to say I could see Catalans winning it
Mm.
if they end up in a situation like Lewis said, finishing 5th. They have a bit of a drop off in the league, but they get up for some big games.
I think they'll win the cup and not make the grand final.
That's fair enough. I do think Wigan will win it. I think they'll win everything every year because, cherry and white goggles or whatever. But
I always like to pick someone different to win the. I think it's so hard to win the double.
yeah,
I always like to pick someone different to win the cup, and someone a bit more outside thinking. So I'll go Catalan for the cup, and I'll go for Wigan to win the grand final over Warrington. Why not? Why not? Yeah, I'm sticking with that.
To get there.
Warrington to
Off
get
the back
there.
of a Sam Burgess.
Yeah,
Team
but
top.
Warrington to get there but lose.
I think we're going to win it. I find it very difficult to pick who they would play, purely because you sit there and you go, well, you might draw them in the semi. If you finish 2nd and they finish 3rd rather than 4th, you might. I find that
Oh, yeah,
predicting who they'll play
Yeah.
is really difficult.
I've said, Wigan grand final. I think it'll be. I don't know, for me, like I said, because I've predicted Catalan to fall off a little bit with losing Tompkins and Pierce, I think we might have a bit of Rangers, Celtic, City, Liverpool, where there's the Wigan and Saints who are at the top, and there'll be quite a big gap between them and the rest of the league, and they'll be fighting it out in the grand final.
I don't
Maybe.
necessarily disagree with that. Right, let's move on to Wigan. Obviously finished top last year. A lot of the squad numbers have stayed similar to what they were last year, but let's talk about the 1 to 17, and I'll list through that. Field, Misgate, Kieran, Wardle and Marshall make the back 5. Bevan French has got the number 6. That's now how many shots has he had at Wigan?
No, he already had 6.
He had 6 in his first.
When he first arrived, I think he was 42.
6.
Then he was 6, 1, 2, 6.
Yeah.
So he was going on a bit of a tour.
Harry Smith at 7. Havard, O'Neill getting the upgrade to the number 9. Liam Byrne.
A good start. Just the front row.
Yeah.
Havard, O'Neill, Byrne, all 3 lads we've brought through.
Yeah, massively.
I bet there's no other team done that.
Willie Isa, Liam Farrell. Cade Ellis getting the number 13. Is he? Am I right in saying he's the first Australian to have a permanent number 13?
They might all have been English. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what I
non-Australian.
mean. The first overseas player. Obviously, Smithies, Bateman, Loughlin,
And Farrell? Farrell's the first one, wasn't
Hanley had the permanent 13 as
Oh,
well.
did he have permanent?
I think so. I might
I always
remember,
see him with 13 on.
he always played with 13 on, from my knowledge. But I hope for once we can have someone now just keep it for a little bit of longevity.
I thought that the last 2 would be that.
Yeah, so
Bateman and Smithies, I thought, were going to be long-term 13. Neither of them really played 13. Well, Smithies did, I suppose.
Smithies did. But the bench, off the shit numbers, shall we say, is Mike Cooper, Patrick Mago and Luke Thompson, with Cruz Lehman at 17.
Yeah.
If we then have a look at the players outside of the starting squad,
Yeah.
you're looking at, obviously we don't carry a number 18, but Tyler Dupree, Harvey Hill has had a big step up to number 20. I can see him being used a lot. Junior December, Sam Walters, Ryan Hampshire, who provides us a lot of options, can fill in at fullback, can fill in the halves, allows a lot of movement and change. Tiaki Chan, 24, again providing a lot of utility options. Didn't he play one of the pre-season games at second row? He's played one at loose forward.
He played one at loose forward, yeah.
25 is Sam Essay.
Oh, Sam Essay Jr., I need to change that. We're going to have got him listed as Sam Essay Jr.
But 26 is Zach Eckersley. He's listed as a centre, but again played a little bit of fullback in the reserves, and
Yeah, he can play on the wing as well.
yeah, can play on the wing.
Played on one wing, I think, for Widnes last year.
Young Tom Forber, a backup 9.
Yeah.
Is 27. Jacob Douglas, a winger, 28. Apologies. Number 29 is Harvey Makin. 30 is and I just lost him.
Jack
Jack
Farriman,
Farriman,
young half-back.
backup half-back, and it'll be interesting. I think he's the one I'm going to keep an eye out, see how we start to get him some
He's
game
very, very young, though.
Very young, very young.
Even compared to like when we brought Smith in, he's very young.
Yeah, definitely. But listen, they trust him, and he played very well in the
Yep.
Wakefield game before. Well, what I saw of the Wakefield game, it was a bit dark.
Just him being around the first team will be massive.
Yeah.
And I think they're targeting for 2 years' time, really.
Yeah.
But 31.
Well, they gave out 2 more numbers for the Wakefield game. Initially, they only went up to 30, but they gave numbers to Regan Sumner and Nathan Law. Nathan Law because Liam Marshall's wife had a baby, and he
Yes.
didn't go on the pre-season tour, so Nathan Law.
It was interesting seeing fans ask where was Marshall for the Wakefield game.
Yeah, well, he
Why
was
is there no Marshall?
he was still at Wigan,
Yeah.
and his wife had a baby. I think it was just before the Wakefield game.
Might have
or
just been
it was
before.
it was around then,
But
but he didn't go away
congratulations.
to Portugal.
What do you think of that squad? Obviously, there's a few changes. Obviously, Kieran coming in for King. In the props, bringing in Luke Thompson is a massive thing. Tyler Dupree is going to have a full Wigan off-season under his belt.
Yeah.
Junior December, another full season under his belt. Sam Walters was very impressive when I saw him at Leeds.
Yeah, Sam Walters is probably the one I'm most excited to see. I think he's more like a Kai Pearce, Paul replacement. Heard Kai Pearce, Paul was a sort of a dynamic second rower who could play various different positions and who could chip in with a try and had good hands. And I think Walters is that, not just because of his height, but I do think Walters is going to play in that sort of mould. But I do think we're also going to see a lot of Nsemba. I'd be surprised when you said squad number-wise, the bench is Cooper, Mago, Thompson. I'd be surprised if we carry 3 props. like that on the bench.
I think we would carry 2 and maybe a Walters in
I think
December.
2 and a Walters, yeah, or 2 and a
Because
December.
Walters can fill in at prop if you pick up an injury.
Yeah, I think that's probably more likely. My only concern with this whole squad is a little bit of depth in the outside backs.
I agree, but you've got to remember you're carrying Hampshire in your squad, who
I
can
know,
fill in at 6,
I
who can
know.
fill in at full back, and that would allow a better French for a couple of games to go on the wings if necessary. I'm not a fan of moving the spine.
I just think we need an Ian Thornley type just to go with. I know they've said so. Ian Thornley leaving is a big vote of confidence for Eckersley and Douglas. But I just think we could do with just an experienced head, and I also think loose forward with just Ellis. Ellis missed a lot of games last year.
Luke Thompson played a lot there. And Mago played spells there. I think we just use it as another prop, I'm going to be honest.
Maybe
O'Neill to spell in there.
Well, yeah, so a few people I spoke to at the Gala dinner last year said long term they see O'Neill as a 13.
That's interesting. The thing you say about the centres and the wingers being a little bit light was a conversation with my dad the other day. And we were talking about remember when Burgess and Manfredi both got injuries? And we ended up, what we're going to do?
Marshall and Davis.
Marshall and Davis. And 3 months later, they were both back fit, and we couldn't drop them.
Yeah.
And it was, how do you get Burgess?
So that might be Douglas and Eckersley.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
might be Sumner. I'm impressed with Sumner every time I watch him play.
Yeah, so am I.
And you know what, as well, this is the thing I like about. I want Regan Sumner to be just a backup fullback because he's in the J Field mould.
Yeah.
Dynamic, quick, hard to get your hands on, laterally quite quick as well. Always backing up through the middle. So I would like to see quite a bit of Regan Sumner, I think, especially in the reserves. Keep him around the squad, keep him around J Field for those eventualities. And then, you know what? If he ends up as a winger, so be it. You know?
Yeah, I like the forwards.
Yeah.
I think you look to Saints' years of dominance they had, and I think that was built on a pack of Christian Wolf rugby of just marching you down the field because you had Walmsley coming at you, then you had Parsi, then you had Matautia, and then and they just kept on coming at you.
I agree, but I think we've got more depth.
I know 100%. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is we can very much build a model of, because our problem I used to always say is that is it, and we at this point had quite a young Smithies, and we had quite a young Havard and a young Byrne who maybe not had developed physically yet, so it was hard for us to kind of mirror that and roll teams downfield. Whereas now you look at this, depend on whatever the 17 might be. But we'll be playing teams and they're going to be defending, and they're going to have Havard at them, then they're going to have Byrne, then they're going to have Cooper, then they're going to have Thompson, then Dupree. Yeah. And there's just going to be no... I don't know, so they won't be on the field at the same time, but you know what I mean? There's never going to be a break from just coming at you. You just be like, oh my God, give a kid the ball and tackling you, and there's nothing. It's just going to at you. And I think we can very much kind of replicate that.
Them six you've named up to Dupree, and it's a bit harsh leaving Hill essay and making out of what I'm going to say, but just think of them first 6: Havard, Byrne, Cooper, Mahigo, Thompson, Dupree. Pick any 2 that you want and take them out. Let's say Havard and Byrne, they pick up 2 injuries and you're struggling. Well, you can play Cade Ellis though.
Sam Walters.
You can play Sam Walters though. Tiaki Chan. You're then bringing in Harvey Hill, who's had 2 seasons of being around the first team. Sam Esse, who was at Wakefield last year and played 10 or so games. Okay, with the squad, I always think the squad number's up to 25. You're expecting to be involved at some point. Yeah, I think you name a 25. It's your top 25 on the salary cap. I think your top 25 are expected to be involved.
That's your actual squad then, isn't it? Yeah. And the rest are just backups and spares.
And that's probably a little bit harsh on Eckersley, Forber and Douglas. They're probably there as well.
I don't think it is. I think, to be honest with you, Eckersley, Forber and Douglas, they're not in positions that you rotate as much. They're not in positions that get injured as much. I think
they all know they're only getting called if an injury happens.
Yeah. Whereas the top 25, Sam Esse, Harvey Hill, Jackie Chan, them guys, they're expecting to play.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
But I just think, I always think, what would your squad stand up to if you picked up 2 forward injuries?
Then we say, oh, we've got too many props. Actually, first of all, we've not, because there's a few teams with just as many props. We've just got, well, you might say too many, but we've got loads of good props.
Yeah.
And props get injured a lot and have to rotate and rest a lot.
We went into games with Byrne and Dupree. Byrne, Dupree, Mago, and then Byrne got injured, and Pierce Paul had to play in the forwards, which would be the Sam Walters make.
Willie Ison.
Havard picked up an injury, Cooper picked up an injury, Luke Thompson wasn't here. We were lucky that we brought Dupree in mid-season.
Yeah.
I think the plan was to bring him in at the end
We
of the
needed
season,
him, actually.
but we desperately needed him. We don't, and in my opinion, we don't win a grand final without him.
Mm.
Harvey Hill was called upon
Big call.
occasionally, but again, he's now a year older and he's got the number 20. And we brought in Esse, we brought in Thompson, got a full season under Dupree. December's going to want more game time, and we didn't even throw in Cade. Listen to that.
So, who out of this lot then do you see getting a lot of games at Wakefield? I can see Hill making though. Wakefield are expected to be walking away with the championship.
I can see Harvey Hill being going.
I think Harvey Hill, Esse, Chan,
Tom Forber.
maybe even if they play on the Sunday and we play on the Friday, and then December's like 18th man, maybe even him.
Yeah. No, I don't.
But I think
disagree.
what we're going to get is somebody like Sam Esse, somebody like Tyler Dupree, training full pre-season with Wigan, full season training with Wigan. They're going to get Wigan fit.
It's different.
Mentioned this last season, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wigan fit.
Wigan
Especially
fit.
with Dupree when he gets Wigan fit.
He was impressive, Dupree, but if he gets Wigan fit, he'll be better than impressive.
So weird, isn't it? Because you're looking at him last season, like you're saying, he's been so impressive, and you're looking at him, you're thinking Havard, Byrne, Cooper, Mago, Thompson.
Yeah.
You can't
Obviously,
forget
he will get game. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is you've
But
got so much depth.
but I might be-
who starts? Who's
Do-
on the bench?
What
Matty
club
Pete's
in
got-
Super League doesn't have Tyler Dupree in the 117?
Exactly.
Maybe Saints. They got Parsi, 17.
Parsi at
Parsi's
17.
number 17, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Catalans. You want to say about Catalans?
I think he gets in at Catalans.
Oh, it's
I don't think there's any others.
It's
Saints,
what we're
maybe.
saying. It's depth, isn't it? And this is the thing. I know that's been a talk of Wigan coming out of the pre-season. I know that the players are talking in the interviews. It's competition for places, but that is pushing them on and increasing the standards that they're in that competition. They know they don't perform or whatever. There is someone waiting who's going to come and take their place. So
Right.
that's a good thing. You want
properly
competition for places.
excited.
The last
Really.
thing I want to talk about Wigan with is obviously the new centre signing, Adam Kieran. He's a different type of centre to the guy who's replacing Toby King.
Yeah, Sam Tompkins called him a clever centre.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see how he pairs up with Abbas Miski. You would expect Wardle and Marshall to keep that partnership on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
How he slides over to the right-hand side. But there was a statement from Matty Pete today, or it might have been yesterday, I'll get the days wrong, stating that Harry Smith...
That's Thursday if you're listening, 31st of January.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that.
You might be listening to this in October after Wigan have just gone back to back. See how close we were.
No, Jesus, well,
If you are doing that, then
let us know.
yeah.
I'm not going back and listening. But what I was saying about that is he's come out and said that Harry Smith will be the kicker this season.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know your guys' opinion. We haven't discussed this beforehand. I believe that's right. Because my words to you, Matty, I remember having a phone call about it when we announced the signing of Kieran, is that if we signed Kieran to be a kicker, it's the wrong signing. If we sign him because he's the best option at centre, brilliant. Yeah?
I had a bit of a look into goal kicking percentages today because I heard that Kieran's was much better. It isn't, it's a bit better. So Kieran's goal kicking percentage last year was 77, which is decent. Harry Smith's over the last couple of years is 72. Now it was a bit lower last year, but you've got to factor in the fact that after, I would say, when we went on that winning run at the end of the season,
I
he
remember
barely
doing it. I
missed.
remember looking at it, and I really wish I'd wrote it down so I remember it. But I remember looking at a statistic, and it was like we'd won in the 9-game winning streak that we went on, or 11 games, whatever it
It
was.
was 9 games. Tyler
Nine.
Dupree's played 9 games, so
Yeah.
we're going to win them all.
That I think at most he missed in a game was 2, and then that was Cass at Cass. I remember making Cass at home. Sorry, I remember making the joke that when we played Cass at home, Harry Smith came off at half time, and Hampshire's first 3 kicks were under the stick.
Yeah, Miski scored 5 tries, didn't he, or something
Yeah,
ridiculous like that, and they were all out wide.
I think 4 of them were in the 3 of them were in the first half.
You think
off
about
memory.
that, Harry Smith has got a reasonable kicking percentage.
But look at the percentage of tries we get out wide.
We score so many tries out wide. I mean, last year, I say last year, 2022, I mean the last prof season before the last one, was French getting 31 and Marshall high 20s. Last year, Miski was the top scorer. 27.
Marshall was 20s.
And like I always say, Miski always puts it down on the last blade of grass that's green. Always.
Oh, there was literally, I can think of a couple where he ran round.
And if his entire body can be in touch, that's even better. In the air, that's Miski try. If you'd say to me, what is an Abbas Miski try? He's in the air and he's putting it down on the last green blade of grass, you know. And Spitz kicking it from third row, running down the steps.
You guys know this opinion. I can't think about how many times I've had this conversation with both of you. But you pick your best 13 based on who's the best at fullback, who's the best two wingers, who's the best this.
And whoever's the best goal kicker out then kicks the goals.
You're not whatever.
My worry is, last year we heard about Harry Smith, bad goal kicking, and we were worried about his confidence as a 7. Now he went and kicked everything for England against Tonga and played amazingly as a 7. Kicked everything for Wigan back end of season, played amazing as a 7. My worry is, if you do have that similar spell in the middle of the season, or even at the beginning where he starts missing easy kicks,
Matty Peeds will back him. I think he'll back
but
him.
the fans now have got somebody else who is a goal kicker. Last year they were talking about Jay Field kicking goals. Jay Field's not a goal kicker.
No, he kicked 2, didn't he?
He kicked a few when we didn't have a Hardaker.
Yeah.
But he's not a goal kicker. He's not a goal
Can
kicker.
he not help Harry Smith, do you think? Having Kieran there. So if he is having a bad day with the boot, he's got someone, because again, not that he won't back himself, but if he has got a bad day with the boot or whatever, he's not about his kicking boots, he can say, you know what, there you go, Adam, and lobby the team.
I always used to worry about Richards, or when he kicked, which wasn't often Charnley, when he finished those long range tries. And his adrenaline's up.
Yeah.
He's just run the length of the field, he's out of breath. He's got to compose himself and kick it. Now Richards was pretty good at that. But I don't know, mate.
See, I always think he looks cool under pressure.
He does.
And whether that's a kick or anything like that, he just stands and he looks composed.
I'd keep Harry Smith as kicker.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There was talks that he met with Breers, didn't he, when Breers came back over
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks, and he did a little bit of kicking with him and whatever. I just think
I'd keep Harry as a kicker, but you know
he's
what?
your starting 7. He's on a 4-year contract. You've brought Kieran in to be a centre. You've not brought him in. Well, I hope they've not brought him in to be a.
Well, they've clearly not, because if Harry Smith's still got the tee,
Yeah, that's what I
they've
mean.
clearly not.
That's what I mean.
I think they brought Kieran in because he's the best centre available. After they
he's not missing kicks from in front of sticks.
Well, Kieran missed that one from practically right in front when they lost against Salford last year.
Yeah.
That was to send it to extra time.
Yeah.
No one could believe that, but all of a sudden, we're now expecting that Kieran's going to take over from Harry Smith kicking.
The really interesting thing, let's say they do switch at some point and Kieran takes over. If Kieran goes through a bad spell, I have this conversation all the time, you get better by not playing.
Harry is the kicker.
You get better by not doing it. So if Kieran did take over, Harry Smith would be the answer. And I just think...
That's just fans, though, in general.
Yeah.
That's just overreacting.
Yeah.
Overreacting,
just be-
especially overreaction Monday, it's called.
Yeah.
But for us, it'd be like a Saturday if we're playing on Fridays.
Yeah.
Overreacting.
But exciting season ahead, I think, for Wigan.
Yeah,
We've
very
signed
exciting.
Really well, we've
When-
recruited, and I think a lot of people are backing us to go
Guys,
back to back.
The
Even
pressure's on.
I'm going to ask, actually.
even people.
The pressure's
outside
on.
of
We
Wigan
talk
fans.
about pressure on some other teams. Pressure's big on us because we've got such a good squad.
I was going to ask a question, and I think it'll be the perfect way to sign off. So we'll sign off straight after this. The new signings: Adam Kieran, Luke Thompson. I was going to throw Dupree in there, but I'm not. Walters, Cruz Lehman, Tiaki Chan. Right, them 5.
What about Sam Esse?
Oh, Sam Esse as well. Sorry, 6.
Show some respect. The big man.
Who are you most looking forward to see in a Wigan shirt?
I've already said Walters.
I'd agree.
Walters for me.
I love Sam Walter plays. Sorry, Matty. I clicked
No,
on Facebook the other day of him like at Leeds and like saying, "Oh, I want to see Sam Walter." And I think it was that. And I know everyone looks good on highlights and people are like, "It's only the highlights and whatever."
Not Billy
But
McGooley.
Except Billy McGooley.
Not Billy McGooley.
The only guy with a bad
He had
highlight
the
reel.
worst highlight reel of any player ever. Super League. One of his highlights was him getting put on his backside.
Honestly, whenever I talk about highlights, that's all I can think
Billy
of.
McGooley is.
But with Sam Walters,
He runs a perfect line.
he did. Do you know what? No, I'm not saying it because people will jump down my throat. But essentially, yeah, I saw
It was
big.
going to be about Billy McGuinness.
Big, it wasn't about Billy McGuinness. Big set of hands, nice silky set of bands, aggressive, runs good lines, and yeah, I'm looking. I want to see Sam Walters rip it up in a Wigan jersey.
I don't feel like I can go Walters again.
You
know what I'm going to say?
Pick someone different then.
I'm going to go Luke Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Luke Thompson can get anywhere near to the amount of games and form he had at Saints in 1920, at the start of 20 before he went to the Bulldogs, he is going to be a powerhouse.
You know what Tompkins said? Tompkins said about Tiaki Chan? Raw talent, but upside. He was basically saying, like, upside for Tiaki Chan's better than all these what we've been talking about. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, big time. And they're getting in game time, and especially in the friendlies. He's played every one so far, and I expect him to play.
The club content, he's at the front of everything as well, his name, an essay.
Right, lads. It's been a brilliant first episode back.
Yes.
Lads, we enjoyed it.
We thought we'd get to season 2.
I know.
What a surprise that's been. I hope you've enjoyed it. Matty, it's been a pleasure. Lewis, it's been brilliant to have you here again.
Pleasure as
And,
always.
We hope you enjoy it, guys. Leave your feedback below. Thank you. Hi, I'm Tom.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Lewis.
This is the Wigan Way, Wigan's favourite rugby league podcast.